That's not my responsibility. I leave that alone because I know I'll screw it up. So I let Jeff jump on the sword.
18 hoops you got to jump through just to get it on the freaking air.
The Standing Rock Sioux Tribe is now joining.
Oh, you've got to hit the mic on your phone. Oh, okay. Just because I've done it this way 90 times in a row.
Have had a dire impact on Native Americans. Health updates. Sarah Lee Kessler, NBC News Radio.
iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. You can take Sports 1280 with you anywhere. But let's just say you're in the mood for Darius Rucker.
Yes.
Darius Rucker, and iHeartRadio makes a...
Wait, what now? What happened?
I'm always in the mood for Darius Rucker.
Dave, that one's... I love that you did that one on purpose.
I know, right?
That commercial is so useless. It's
and let's
fine.
say you want a similar artist like Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yes, because that's what everybody knows.
Own custom stations. Download the...
Maybe we should try and get Joel Corey on sometime. We'll talk about Breeze. He had a big long thing the other day. Y'all like that drum?
No, that was terrible.
Did you hear that?
Dunc and Holder, we're actually back live. Just in case you're wondering, Jeff, my mom made sure to text me on Monday to let me know that we weren't live.
Oh, she did?
Yes.
That's what moms do.
She's looking out for me. Just making sure that you guys don't know that you're not live. I had no idea. No clue.
I ran into a friend Monday and said he was listening to the show and said, I thought you were supposed to be in Minneapolis. They said on the show you were on your way to Minneapolis.
Sometimes we can run best ofs, especially on Monday, Lundi Gras, Tuesday, Mardi Gras. We're back live here on a Wobble Wobble Wednesday, February 14th, just to make sure you know it. I'm throwing the date out there. Happy Valentine's Day to Clyde. Happy Valentine's Day to Dave back in the studio. And Jeff, you too. We'll hug it out, I'm sure, later.
Yes.
No doubt about it.
Maybe a little tongue. I don't know.
Whoa.
Keep it clean. This is a family show sometimes.
He's trying to get to first base before we even had a conversation.
Look, I was at Mardi Gras, the ribaldry of St. Anne's Parade yesterday, so I'm a little randy.
I was about to say, yes, because clothing is typically optional over there.
Yeah, it was. It was a great Mardi Gras day. Is that the best weather we've had in
probably a few years? Last year wasn't too bad.
Yeah,
I was out there with you last year in the Marinee at the St. Anne's
Yeah, I think
Parade.
we got sunburned last year.
And it was a good day there, but I think it was unexpected. Look, and then you and me hung out Monday down in the quarter, and it was a little chilly.
Yeah, a little
freezing.
It was freezing, but it was fun.
But we had a good time, yeah. So hope everyone is surviving. Of course, I know it's Valentine's Day. It's Ash Wednesday. I've talked to colleagues here at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, and they sound like they've been run over 5 times by floats, so good for them. My kids are still off school, so they're just running around crazy, I'm sure.
They're loving life right now.
At my in-laws, yeah, I'm sure. But, look, we got a great show lined up for you. Of course, we're going to be talking about the Pelicans. One more game until the All-Star break. They host the Lakers tonight at the Smoothie King Center. All of a sudden, they're starting to get their act together, or should I even...
Wait a second.
Should I never even say that?
Wait a second.
We've told you to stop saying that for like 4 weeks.
I can't
now.
help
you
myself.
Still won't do it.
They beat
Stop.
I don't believe in them. Maybe they're getting their act together. That's not me saying I'm buying in.
Nah, it's just them playing
Eastern Conference teams.
What's crazy is I saw a story yesterday on, I think it was Deadspin, talking about just the kind of jumbled mess that the bottom of the league is right now, and about how we really don't know who's going to finish dead last in the league. I mean, there are a lot of really good contenders, but with injuries and with defections or trades or whatnot, it's going to be interesting to see who finishes, not how much who wins the title, but who's going to finish dead last. Because right now there are a lot of teams, including like some of the teams that I think the Pelicans have played the last couple weeks.
And have lost to at times, even when they had Boogie.
Still have a winning record, though.
They almost squandered a 28-point lead the other day. It would have been epic.
I was watching that one and just I was waiting just to send out the tweet. I just wasted my life, these 2.5 hours of my life again.
I don't want to go too far with this, but I really think they saved the season by not losing that game. If they blew that game, it was over. There was no doubt. Now they rallied. To their credit, they rallied, kind of dominated the overtime, and had a nice win against Detroit, who's been playing well. But if you look at the Pelicans' one-loss record and break it down into different variables, they dominate the Eastern Conference, and they struggle against the West, and they're getting ready to get done with most of the Eastern Conference schedule. And they're going to have to start banging heads with these teams in the West that they've struggled against.
Can they just petition like they do probably every year to get moved to the East because they should belong in the East, right?
That's what a lot of people would like.
I think they're just waiting for either Seattle or some other Western Conference or some team west of the Mississippi to
like Vegas to get a
team. Seattle,
they could get bumped.
Yeah, Seattle to get a team. Some other place out west to get a team, and they're just waiting and praying at this point. But I mean, they've had years where that's kind of been the case, where they've been better against Eastern Conference opponents because obviously the East isn't weaker per se, but it's a lot easier to sometimes get lucky and beat some of those teams. But they've had years where they've been good against the West and not so good against the East. So I think it just kind of flip-flops. But really, it's like we talked about. Like, even though the Pelicans may not be where they should be, clearly they're one of the most entertaining teams in the league. You go to double overtime, you don't like it as a fan, but at the same time, though, you're watching somewhat great basketball and great basketball players playing.
At least they're in playoff contention, and we're not talking about, wow, they're 11-40 at this point. So that's a good thing. But look, Pelicans got one more game until the All-Star break. They take on the Lakers tonight at Smoothie King Center, and it's Wednesday, meaning our own Will Guillory will join us. He will join us at the top of the 11 o'clock hour.
What's up, Will?
Then also we will, of course, talk about LSU. If you watched the game last night, LSU at Alabama, it's amazing how one play helped spiral this thing out of control, because they were hanging tough with Alabama. Dwop Reith misses a dunk, and then Alabama literally goes on like a 26-3 run, and they go down in flames in Tuscaloosa. So we'll talk with WAFB TV's Jacques Doucet about that. And also, gentlemen, now that Valentine's Day's here, that's right around the start of college baseball season. So we will talk with Jacques about the LSU Tigers coming off of a national championship runner-up season. Lots of different faces. If you look at their pitching staff, it's starkly different than what it was last year. So we'll talk with Jacques about that. And they host Notre Dame this weekend up at Alex Box Stadium. So it's baseball season's getting ready to get all fired up. And look, we're going to be talking a lot about college baseball because big season uptown. Tulane's got to get back on track, and I'm curious to see what happens out in the lakefront with Blake Dean and UNO in year 2 with that. And of course, LSU's always going to be LSU.
It's hard to believe baseball's upon us. In Major League Baseball, pitchers and catchers have reported.
They've reported already, yes.
And we will be having our fantasy draft soon. But it's like upon us. It always sneaks up on me. And all of a sudden,
well, college baseball always sneaks up on you because it's like the end of the NFL season. You're done with that, and then Mardi Gras typically comes, and you got all this stuff. But yeah, look, college baseball is ramped up and ready. I saw a picture that Todd Grappanini tweeted. They had baseball practice yesterday at Turchin, and all along Claiborne were all the trucks lining up for the parade. So kind of a unique scene out at Turchin Stadium yesterday.
Yeah, you struggle to get across Claiborne.
Good luck.
I learned you've got to plan to get across there.
Yeah.
And it goes on all day. That's like a big, just huge party.
Yeah, the Trucks Parade, man, that's where you really, really get most of your bang for your buck, because there's 50 plus of them by 2.
Yeah, I saw a cool scene yesterday as I was driving back from the Maroney. NOPD officers out all along the neutral ground throwing like Nerf footballs to these kids that were on the trucks. And the kids were telling them to go out long, and the NOPD guys were going out running patterns. And it was kind of just typical Mardi Gras. Everybody was having a good time.
Absolutely. And we will take your phone calls. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. And in this first hour, I don't know which segment. We'll pick one. The mock draft season is...
It's here?
Rampant. Yes. Look, the NFL scouting combine starts in, what, a week? Am I thinking?
It's got to be soon.
Yeah, coming up real soon. And, of course, mock draft season is out. Look, we're already through the Senior Bowl, and so this thing's going to get cranked up. And just some of the names that are being connected and floated out there. Yeah, and the combine starts February 27th. So that's the on-field stuff. So things happen plenty of days before that.
Yeah, a couple weeks away then.
Right, so it's a couple weeks away. So obviously we'll be going to be talking a lot about that. So I want to bring up some of the names that are being floated out there. And Some are predictable. Others, well, at least the position that people are targeting is predictable. But I have my questions about certain position that everyone says, oh, the Saints, it's a need, so they've got to draft a tight end in the first round. I'm just wondering why automatically they've got to draft a first-round tight end when Jimmy Graham wasn't a first-round tight end and all these other guys.
Right.
You know, it's I don't think the Saints need to go that route first round if it's a reach. I don't know if it's a reach, and that's the thing, but it's going to be the popular pick right now. Dallas Goedert from South Dakota State. Now, he's got impressive numbers.
Jackrabbits.
But yes, so he's the popular pick. If literally I just Googled NFL mock drafts, and you click on, say, 4 or 5 of them, and almost all of them just decide, oh, Saints have a need at tight end, so that's where they're going to go. I'd say hold your horses or hold your jackrabbits. Don't go that route yet.
Hold your jackrabbit. No, I mean, look, I think they're in the position to take the best player available, and that's exactly what I think they're going to do. They got enough needs. They don't have any dire pressing needs. I would argue they really need another pass rusher, but they might take care of that in free agency. So I think they just take the best player that falls. That's worked for them in the past. It worked for them last year. They were in a position to where they could take whoever fell, and Lattimore fell right in their laps, and then Ryan Ramczyk fell in their laps.
Wow. So how much better does that pick look considering the last month that Reuben Foster has gone through? Arrested twice.
I believe I was anti-Reuben Foster in the draft, and I believe you were pro-Reuben Foster.
What does that even mean?
I'm just saying. I'm just drawing a line here in the sand.
Drawing a line in the sand. I want to go look at my mock drafts. I was pro Derek Barnett.
I just said you were definitely pro Derek, and that looks like a great pick for the Eagles. My concern, I shouldn't have brought Larry into it. That wasn't fair, because I think you were.
I unfairly bring you into things
all
the time.
I think you were also worried about his off-field.
I was loud about that.
Here's the point. Yes. It wasn't one red flag with Reuben Foster. There were multiple red flags, and those always give me cause for concern. And I said I would not have touched him with a 10-foot pole because there was just too many things. I mean, the stuff that happened at the Combine, his background at Alabama, being arrested and stuff. I mean, there was just a lot of smoke there.
And yet the Saints were on the verge of taking him. So they lucked out. And people were asking me, well, do you think it's maybe they just did their homework or they lucked out? No, they totally lucked out.
They were on the phone with him.
They were on the phone with him.
They were going to draft him.
Right. And it doesn't matter. Oh, well, he hung up. It's funny, the argument on Twitter. Well, he hung up on the Saints to take down the call. It didn't matter. I mean, that is irrelevant. It's not like he had a choice.
That's not doing their homework.
He didn't have a choice. Like, the 49ers were the pick above him. So the Saints lucked out and got the tackle that they could have for – heck, the next decade. I mean, he could, if he stays healthy, Ryan Ramczyk, you've got a tackle that you don't have any questions about, period.
Right.
Zero.
And look, sometimes you need luck in this world, and the Saints were fortunate in that regard. And I'm sure the Saints knew all the red flags on Reuben Foster, and they probably said, you know what, at the end of the first round, maybe it's worth it. But I don't think so. After blowing a first-round pick on Stephon Anthony, those are valuable guys. You got to get a starter there.
Well, Stephon Anthony didn't come with the off-the-field stuff.
No, what I mean is you can't just squander it.
They've squandered too many.
Right. That's my point. You couldn't afford to squander it. But Reuben Foster obviously is a big-time talent. But this team right now has this really good locker room, great chemistry, and I think they've got the right guys. They don't need any distractions. They don't need to take chances. And that's what worries me a little bit about Malcolm Butler. But you never know, man. New England's a weird place. Some players leave there and thrive elsewhere. So I don't want to just paint him with this broad brush, because I do think that it could be that situation where they just kind of spoiled on each other.
A la Chandler Jones. I mean, they traded him away,
right.
And you haven't heard a peep except for him just getting sacks and being a Pro Bowler and being one of the best defensive ends in the NFL.
He's one of the best players in the league.
Right,
so
exactly.
People always say, oh, Bill Belichick doesn't make – yes, he makes tons of mistakes. And that was one. And you could argue that he made a mistake on Akeem Hicks, even though I think he tried to get Akeem Hicks back. They tried to lowball him, and Akeem Hicks got a better deal in Chicago. And that's a guy they could use. They don't have anybody like Akeem Hicks in their defensive line in the interior. Malcolm Brown's been good, but Akeem Hicks would certainly help them. That defense got strafed by the Eagles. I mean, they got lit up. There's nobody on that side of the ball that you really fear.
That's why I picked the Eagles in our predictions.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't trust their defense. I know.
They don't have anybody over there that you say, I mean, Stephon Gilmore's a good corner. McCourty's a good safety. I mean, they're good. They have a lot of good players, but they have no, the defensive difference maker.
Well, they had one. They traded him.
Yeah, right. You're right.
But they won without him too. So
that's true.
They won the Super Bowl without Chandler Jones, right? Or did they not win?
Yeah, they won it last year without him.
Right. So Chandler Jones has been in Arizona for 2 years. So
if the Falcons didn't squander a 25-point lead.
Oh boy. Can't get through one segment.
The truth, if you have it, speak it. Don't hold it back.
I mean, even Zulu's throwing 28-3 coconuts yesterday.
I don't blame that man.
They were?
Yes, 28-3 coconuts.
I
saw a picture on Twitter, so it's
Hail
gotta be
Zulu,
true,
indeed.
Right? It's got to be true.
And we need to at some point talk about my column today. Not that that's a self-serving column, but I think it's a subject worth debate right now. It's about Drew Brees' contract. And I mean, we got a month for the Saints to get this deal done. We're 1 month away exactly from the start of free agency.
March 14th, yes.
And my contention is that both sides compromise to get this deal done, but it should be done before free agency. If it's not, both sides have failed.
I totally agree. So we'll talk about that. Mock draft prospects. Also, thanks to NFL memes on Twitter,
yes,
there's some lovely Valentine's Day cards that certain people in the NFL may be sending to their loved ones. So we'll read some of those. Take your phone calls. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Baby, I wanna stop and thank you, baby. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
How sweet it is to be loved
I like
by
this.
you.
It's like a little Light Rock Express, man.
Light Rock Express.
What happened to Wobble Wobble Wednesday?
Well, I mean, it's kind of
It's Valentine's Day, Larry.
Thank you.
But I mean,
My wife said I could ignore it today. Is that a trap?
No, it's not a trap. No, if she says it, it's not
definitely a trap.
I don't care.
It's a trap.
That's the largest bear trap ever planted.
In your life.
No,
Choose from
she's
6
like, we'll
pieces
just
of
go
my
out and eat
Kentucky
on
Fried
Friday.
Chicken,
And I said,
9
all right.
extra
Oh, well, I
cheese,
mean, as long as you-
12 hot
yeah,
wings, or
that-
a bunch
that
of
certainly
popcorn
makes
nuggets.
sense.
So grab your buddy, your cousin, your dad, your college roommate, or my friend Jones,
So I was like, yeah,
and
we're
head to
definitely good. We were
KFC.
already
Are you there
like
yet?
pondering, all right, where do you want
Okay,
to go
good.
eat?
Now get to sharing and eating. KFC.
Yeah, as long as you don't forget, you'll be okay.
It's
You
not
know?
been forgotten.
KFC's only. Hot wings not available at all locations. Prices may vary.
Yeah, as long as you acknowledge that it is Valentine's Day,
And we're gonna do
We'll
something,
do something
yeah.
later.
Yeah.
Like GE, Samsung,
Well, even my
LG, and
mother-in-law
Frigidaire.
today,
Plus,
when
get
I'm
up to
talking
30
to
months
kids,
special
y'all going out
financing on
eating
appliance
tonight?
purchases made through February
Friday.
28th. Plus, free delivery
No,
on basic
it's a
employees.
Wednesday.
These deals
That's
end
the
soon.
mother-in-law,
GC
too. You gotta handle that
GG,
properly.
Profile G, Cafe and
Well, they're
Lounge.
watching the kids all week.
Available in select stores. Some
Yeah,
terms,
definitely gotta
conditions,
handle
and
that.
apply. Financing terms
Yeah,
eligible.
that's nice.
Must request a time of purchase subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. Free delivery and basic installation on appliance purchases over $299 and not available in all areas. See store associate or jcp.com/appliances for details.
The thought of winter coming.
Yeah, see,
can
people
be
are already
chilling.
chiming in the comment.
Knee-deep
People are
snow,
crazy if they think Drew's going to take
face-numbing
$8 or $10 million
winds,
less than what he's worth.
temperatures below
Then you got other
zero,
people going,
and yet
he's got all the money he's ever needed.
Right,
You know,
Could be even worse.
No, we'll bring
both sides
That's why
have a good
Duralast
point. You
batteries
know,
are tested to perform in harsh conditions.
Yeah.
So even if it's 40 below zero, your car
we'll
can
talk about
start
this
up
second,
like
because
it's
it's
72 and sunny.
Totally right.
Visit any of our 5,000
instead of
locations
getting Amos on
nationwide,
Friday, I
let's
think I'm
get
going to
you
try and
what
get the
you
new Fairgrounds guy on, just because they could be good to get him in the mix. They got a new guy that does all their predictions and stuff.
Oh, and
Only
we're
thing is, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
That's why you get Dave asking.
lunch is our thing too.
Lunches for just $7.
Seriously.
It's a weird last name. It's like Joe Christopher.
for 10 awesome lunches.
What?
I know. Christopher.
Same thing, but I flipped it. Chili's is back, baby, back.
Joey
baby, back.
Dak. It'd be cool too because this is his
You have to
first.
bleep you every time you say his name.
Well, it's his first like Mardi Gras too. I think he was tweeting about it yesterday. It'd be fun to get his thoughts on what that was like. Because he's from Chicago.
Pyeongchang, South Korea. White won the gold medal in the men's snowboard halfpipe final. He failed
Christopher.
the medal at the
Yeah, I gotta
2014
remember that 'cause
Olympics in
you
Sochi
can
after
screw that
taking
up
home
easy.
gold in 06 and 2010. The Cavaliers' turnaround continues with a 120-112 win over the Thunder
Cavs,
in
buddy.
Oklahoma City. LeBron James.
Now they're rolling.
They're rolling now. They traded. What kind of league is this?
Yeah,
by
they
the
just had
way?
to get rid of
What kind of league? You
half
just
of the
trade your
team.
whole
Flurry of
team.
trades.
How does that happen? No
Only
other
the
league.
Cavs, man.
No other league does this.
It's like fantasy basketball.
Right. Oh, we know we might not.
Which I'm
let's
hoping
just
it into next year.
Trade our whole team.
Yeah, it's like, hey, so we gotta get rid of all these guys. Who's ready? Okay, great. Thanks, LA. Thanks, Miami. Thanks, Utah.
Why would anybody take Dwayne Wade. He's terrible right now.
Well, the only place I was going to take him back was the Heat.
So what? He's terrible. He's terrible. What good does that do?
Who's also terrible?
It's like bringing back Willie Mays at 80 or something.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Dwayne Wade can't play at all. Derrick Rose can't play at all. Derrick Rose is terrible. Oh.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Man, I had to calm you two down. Fired up about Dwayne Wade being traded to the Heat and Willie Mays at 80 years old. What's going on around
Willie
here?
Mays was my favorite baseball player ever. But it was sad to see him play out the end of his career with the New York Mets. It was very sad.
Well, you know it's not going to be sad. Speaking of near the end of his career, 39 years old, basically that's quote-unquote 80 in football years, is Drew Brees. And he is nowhere near just being washed up and hacked up. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL still. I published my grades, and I've been doing grades, our off-season player grades. So I grade each individual player in position groups. And so now we've gotten through defense and special teams, and now we've gotten to the offense. And Drew Brees, at now 39, got an A easily. It was one of the easiest grades I could give. And even people might look at it and say, "Oh, well, his numbers weren't as prolific." Yeah, it's because a byproduct of the running game being awesome. And so Drew Brees only has to be accurate, doesn't throw picks, may not have the touchdowns, but just about as many yards, 4,500 yards, 4,300 yards, something like that. And he's still one of the best in the game, period.
I think he set an NFL record for completion percentage this year at 72%, and he had the second highest passer rating in the league, 103.9. And I don't think I would like to talk to Sean Payton about this. We need to endeavor to get him on the show again now that the season's over.
I remember he said every other Tuesday in March.
Yes.
Well, that's coming.
So we need to get him on. But I want to ask him, I personally do not believe, I think it was a byproduct of the strategy, but I don't think that they said we need to run the ball more this year because Drew Brees is 39. I think they ran the ball more this year because they got good running backs.
And a good offensive line.
And that's what Sean Payton does. He tailors his offense around the skill position players that he has available. In the past, when they had Cooks and Michael Thomas, they threw the ball more to the receivers.
And when Willie Snead was actually doing
a player.
Right.
And when they had Jimmy Graham, they went to the tight end. It's just smart football. They got these good backs. Let's run the ball behind this line. And, yeah, it is beneficial to Drew Brees at 39, but that's not the reason they did it. You're getting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, it's not like Drew Brees couldn't get it done. Drew Brees, you saw him in that Minnesota game in the second half. You saw him against Washington, the Panthers. If you're going to ask him to get it done, he's going to get it done.
Right. They loaded the line against the Panthers, and they threw all day. What did he throw, 50 passes or something in that game? I mean, he chucked it all game long because he can, and they can do that if they have to win. So it's I think there's a misperception out there that the Saints are trying to protect Drew Brees. I think they're doing it. They're just trying to win. That's what Sean Payton does. What's the best way to win?
Absolutely. And now, Drew Brees, his contract will expire in a month exactly.
Yes.
March 14th is the start of free agency. And, Jeff, you have a column in today's print edition of the Times-Picayune and is up at NOLA.com. Headline, at least online, Drew Brees will retire a Saint if both sides compromise. And you've seen feedback both ways. And I don't know which way to lean because I could see it from both directions. Does Drew Brees deserve to be paid at the top dollar? Yes. Is it going to be a 5-year deal? Of course not. But does he deserve top dollar money? I mean, if you were going to, well, that's hard to say. Because if I'm asking you would take Jimmy Garoppolo out on a date for Valentine's Day because you love him so much. But does Drew Brees deserve Jimmy Garoppolo money for 2 years? Yes.
Right.
But then there's the other side. Does Drew Brees really need all that money? Would it benefit the team in maybe 1 or 2 more runs with him to let some money stay with the team and go out and pluck some guys, make some trades, do whatever you need to do to make this team as potent as possible? I could buy that argument too. So where do you stand?
Well, I think Drew Brees has already made a big concession in these negotiations by basically saying he doesn't want to even step foot in free agency. He doesn't want to go on free agent visits. That's a huge concession. I'm sure Tom Condon did not want that. Tom Condon, his agent, is one of the hardest driving agents in the business. He negotiated the deal for Matthew Stafford. He negotiated the Alex Smith deal. He wants every dollar he can get. Drew Brees is basically saying, I don't even want to be in the game. I want to get a deal done before we even get to free agency. So that's a huge concession. The Saints need to acknowledge that and give him a fair market deal. My point is the Saints have to compromise a little bit in this, in that he's not going to take a Tom Brady deal. And it's unfair to – everybody always brings up Tom Brady. Oh, the hometown discount. First of all, Tom Brady's married to Gisele Bündchen, who's making $40 million a year. No one has that outlier situation that Tom Brady does. And second of all, I'm not sure that they're not skirting the salary cap in New England by paying his company, TB12. They have a contract with his company. And
Jeff,
I'm telling
the Patriots,
that's shady.
No, they stand for America. They would never do anything shady.
Of course.
Ever.
They would never push the envelope. So
or just blatantly cheat or videotape someone in their plays. Nothing.
Right.
Or they own like half the gates. There's so many gate scandals connected to them.
Or have the game balls at a lesser PSI than what it probably should be.
Haven't you guys ever wondered this? I mean, I've thought about this, and we're going off in a tangent here, another direction. But what's to prevent Tom Benson right now from just going to Drew Brees and saying, Drew, take $15 million a year, or whatever, $18 million a year, and I'll give you $20 million in 5 years after you retire. I mean, he doesn't need the money now. It's almost like a down payment later on. It skirts the salary cap. He gets his money. I mean, there's nothing to prevent that in the NFL rule book.
Nothing.
And I guarantee you stuff like that happens that we don't know about. And in this case with Brady, something to me, there's a lot of smoke there.
You've been telling me this for years.
They're paying TB12 to $200 an hour, which is what they say the market rate to treat players. Anyway, my point is Drew Brees should not be compared to Tom Brady because that's a unique situation. No one else in the league has taken a deal like Brady.
No.
No one. Stafford didn't. I think
Manning didn't.
Derek Carr just got a big deal.
Peyton Manning didn't, and even he took as high as they would go in Denver given his health.
Right. So they've got to compromise and come up. This $20 million, I've heard people say they're going to start negotiations at $20 million a year. That's the floor, man. That's not going to be what Drew Brees settles for.
That's not market value.
No, it's not at all. 27.5 is now the precedent.
And look how much money Alex Smith got.
Right.
And he's 34, and he's
correct.
Are they still waiting? And I mean, I know we're getting this also on the YouTube stream too, but obviously you saw what Garoppolo got in San Francisco. Kirk Cousins is still out there because no one knows what he's going to do, and obviously he's going to come in.
He may get more.
He may get more than that from some team. And then there are other guys there are other guys out there too that I think is it so much the fact that it's the waiting game of when you see, especially if you're a Saints fan, if you see what Garoppolo gets, what Cousins may get, what all the rest of these guys.
Case Keenum's going to get paid.
Yeah. Basically, teams like Arizona need a quarterback, guys like that. What do you, as a Saints fan, do you think it's more or less watching all these other quarterbacks get this type of money, and you're sitting there trying to do your own kind of bargain math in your head of, well, what are the Saints thinking? Are they watching this? Things like that. And how do you tell fans to coalesce that like all of these situations are a little bit more different? Because like I said on here, San Francisco is paying Garoppolo for what he did this last season, but for what they believe he can do going forward.
Right. Exactly. So it's a totally different. Drew Brees' circumstances is different than everyone else's. It's not
right. It's a unique situation for everybody involved, but both sides need to give a little here. Brees has got to give a little because he's not going to get. He could. If he wanted to go out in the market, he could probably get close to $30 million a year, I think, in a short-term deal. Somebody would give it to him.
Arizona, I bet you would.
Right.
Larry Fitzgerald would be like, come play
with like what happened with Denver and Peyton Manning. Heck, Denver
might be there anyway.
And do Saints fans want Drew Brees sitting down opposite John Elway out in some conference room in Denver, some hotel, and having him pitch him on the Peyton Manning plan? No, you don't want that. You don't want to take that chance at all.
I don't think we're ever going to get to that point. But still, the fact that it's out there, it's going to be out there till it's not. So we will. It's just a curious and interesting debate. So what do you think? Phone calls 504-260-1280. What should the Saints do? What should Drew Brees do? So we'll get your calls coming up next. And come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
A Mecca Okafor sign.
Easiest money
Your
he's got.
forecast on Sports
Yeah, it's
1280,
true.
New Orleans.
It was weird
This
seeing
report is
Jameer
brought to
Nelson
you
play
by
for
the
the
Ad
Pistons the
Council.
other night.
From the Fox 8 weather center, I'm meteorologist.
Like he's here, he is,
Bruce
like he
Gass.
was just
Happy
with this team
Valentine's
like a
Day
week
on
ago.
this
That's like Dante
Wednesday as
Cunningham.
well. Warmer
Was it
day,
against
high in the mid to upper
Right.
70s.
And Anthony
slight
Davis
chance
was
of a
like
stray
owning him
shower
left
at
and right.
20%. Now tonight, watching out for patchy fog, overnight low in the mid 60s.
Well, yeah, just think how many times they've gone against each other in practice. He's probably like, I know what I can do against them.
High temperatures each
I know what I
day
can
at
do.
about 80
Anthony
to
Davis is
81.
playing great.
Overnight lows staying in the 60s.
Miritich is
both
also.
north and
I
south.
think he's starting to
From
find his rhythm
Fox
with the
8
team
Weather
now.
Center,
I really
I'm
do.
meteorologist
You know what
Bruce Gass with
surprises
your
me
weather
is he's a
authority
better
forecast.
85 million
like
adults
shot
in
blocker than I
America
thought.
have
Oh, yeah.
He blocks a lot of
Oh
shots.
yeah, he's athletic. He's absolutely
I know,
athletic.
but I mean, like he blocks a lot of
Get back on your
shots.
treatment plan.
I don't know. He's
Visit
smart.
loweryourhbp.org.
I'm supposed to get a one-on-one
Brought
with
to you
him.
by the Ad Council
Nice.
and its high
That's not
blood
terrible.
pressure
This week or
awareness
next, yeah.
partners.
Be a fun
The
story.
thought of winter coming can be chilling. Knee-deep
Nico.
snow, face-numbing
That's what everybody
winds,
calls him,
frozen
Nico.
fingers, temperatures below zero.
Nah, they don't call him
and
a
yet,
Bolshevik.
without a Duralast car
Nicola.
battery.
No, they don't call him a Bolshevik.
That's why
Nicola.
Duralast batteries are tested to perform in harsh conditions. So
Seriously, that
even
should
if
be
it's
on
40
repeat.
below
Every time he
zero,
hits a
your
shot
car
in the
can
Smoothie King
start
Center,
up like it's
have it ready.
72 in
Hit it.
summer.
Oh, he hits the three. Ricola! And then come back.
That's free
Nationwide,
advertising
let's get you
for
what you
Ricola.
So? They get free advertising to worse.
Sanders here to tell you about KFC's $10 chicken shares. They're perfect to share with those special people in your life. Choose from 6 pieces of my Kentucky Fried Chicken, 9 extra crispy tenders, 12 hot wings, or a bunch of popcorn nuggets. So grab your buddy, your cousin, your dad, your college roommate, or my friend Joan, and head to KFC. Are you there yet? Okay, good. Now get to sharing and eating. KFC's $10 chicken shares. It's finger-licking good.
And participating KFC's only. Hot wings not available at all locations. Prices may vary. Tax and substitutions extra.
Facebook is hoping you'll share more if you make a list. The status update box is getting the new feature that lets you make lists of anything like New Year's resolutions, to-dos, restaurants to try, and
looked at my
travel
roster
ideas.
for
The
the
lists
first
are
time last
designed so
I
that
did
friends
too.
can
I think I'm
copy
keeping,
each
like,
other's to
2
share their
players,
own opinions
3
about the subjects at
players.
hand.
I got too
Facebook
many.
is trying to get users to post more
We're getting
personal
hosed in that
updates,
Stanton
as the
deal.
newsfeed more recently
Biggest
has become
disaster
clogged
of all
up with
time.
videos, links,
Hey, you can blame Jeets for that, man.
ads. The iWatch is
Disaster.
posing a formidable foe
Yeah,
for the
'cause he-
Swiss watch
yeah.
industry.
30 seconds.
This Canalys says Apple sold 2 million more
Nah,
watches
I've
in the
got,
fourth
like,
quarter of last
high-priced
year
guys.
than the entire
Like,
Swiss industry.
do I
Gmail
keep
is going to let you
Jensen
browse
at
websites right in
33?
your
Do I
mail.
keep
The
Arenado at
accelerated
40?
mobile pages or
Probably
AMP
going to.
capabilities
Yeah.
I mean, they're-
will allow you to browse through images and
Like
click
the
on
studs.
for more
Around 'em, yeah.
details like you would
You keep
right
your
on the
studs
site,
if you
but
have
through
to
the
pay, you
email
know.
itself. It's a nice feature if you're sick of the 20 tabs you've got open and are easily distracted. Tech Report,
20 tabs
Gary
open.
Olson,
I wonder who
and
does
Jeff
that.
How many do you
Radio.
have?
Right now? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
New Orleans sports talk about
16.
your favorite teams. Sports 1280.
Did you see Tom Amos's Halloween outfit? I mean, Mardi Gras?
Yes, Jeff. I have seen Tom Amos's Mardi Gras costume. He caught up with the guys from Fox 8, and he's this is of course the famous horse trainer here in New Orleans, and he is dressed as a blind referee, and he's posing with Chris Hagan, aka AK-41, Drew Brees, who is actually Sean Fazan, and who is Garland Gillen supposed to be?
He's
Is that
Bjorn Borg.
Looks like Bjorn Borg.
Yeah.
He needs like that. That's too blonde. Too blonde hair. No, you had to get a better wig than that.
But Tom Amos loves to troll the Falcons. He trolled them a year ago. I think they had some kind of Falcons outfit.
Who doesn't troll the Falcons? You trolled the Falcons a half hour ago.
That's true. That's true.
We trolled the Falcons here on Super Bowl Sunday when the Eagles won and it wasn't the Falcons. Right, so hey, they deserve it, right?
They got their revenge though when the Saints lost that Vikings game. Man, Falcons fans were flooding my timeline.
Well, of course they were, but
I will say this.
they've got to grasp at something because nothing is more epic than the collapse in the Super Bowl. I don't care if you blow a 50-point lead in the NFC title game. You still didn't blow it in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but you know what? I would say this, and I'm probably going to get in trouble with our management or higher ups here, but
nothing new there.
I didn't like our headline, the Times-Picayune headline on the Super Bowl. I mean, I thought we've stepped over the line there. I mean, let's move on. We look kind of petty. It's fun to do it when they're playing the Falcons, but I mean, come on. You bring the Eagles game in and then bring the Falcons in. To me, that was too much. Maybe I'm wrong, but did you all like it? I didn't like it.
I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was pretty. I thought it was close.
What are we gonna do? Every time we write ahead of Mardi Gras this year, the Falcons didn't blow it. I mean, come on, move on.
Because those two things are similar. Mardi Gras and the Falcons.
Still, we trolled. We, being our news organization and New Orleanians, had trolled them enough. And come on. We troll them every time they comes up.
I still think the best headline that we came up with all year was after the playoff win against Carolina. The Carolina Panthers have a new owner, the New Orleans Saints.
That one was great.
That one was so boss. It is not fair.
I would say I was when I saw it, I was kind of taken aback, being like, okay, I think we're overkill.
Yeah,
now.
Exactly. Thank you.
I think we're a little
overkill.
Move
on. I mean, the Falcons had nothing to do with that game. I mean, it's just, I don't know. To me, we're forcing it a little bit.
Tomorrow's episode will be the Clyde Show with Clyde Verdant.
Exactly.
Can't wait. It'll just be, and then it'll be shut down after 2 weeks.
When my security card doesn't work here anymore, I'll know.
I know when our security guy, Mike, he's going to dunk you in the trash can and throw you out.
Yeah, because he's 6'7".
Mike keeps wanting to get on the show, by the way.
That's not a surprise. One of these days we'll let him walk up and I'll let him have my seat. That's fine.
You'll let him. He'll take it from you.
Also accurate. I'm not going down to the fight though. I don't care.
He will certainly
take
it from you.
Where do you come in on the Drew Brees deal? Where do you weigh in?
I feel like I'm wishy-washy, and Drew Brees deserves all the money he gets because he's worth it, and yet you have an opportunity for him, and I think he sees it in front of him and understands this, that this is the time to use as many resources as possible to create the best team humanly possible, because everyone in the building on Airline Drive, everyone in the city, everyone in the NFL knows the time is limited. You can say the window's always open. Okay, that's cute. Well, the window's not open when Taysom Hill becomes the quarterback. I mean, let's be honest. And he probably will never become the quarterback, but who knows? He may. But as far as the Saints are concerned, look, I think they are going to have to balance looking like cheapskates and balance being just someone who has to play the negotiating game. I mean, this happens with every player. It's not as easy as the team throws a number at you and you say sold and you just run and sign. That just doesn't happen in professional sports. There's a reason why you have agents, and there's a reason why there's negotiating, because you want to get the best value, and either side wants to get the best value. Here's the thing. I'm not saying that Drew Brees should take a Tom Brady deal. I'm just saying that Drew Brees doesn't have to try to break the bank. And that's probably where I stand on it. I'm not putting it more on the Saints, because I think the Saints, they have to look beyond Drew Brees. And they can't have all this money tied to him 5 years down the line. They can't be paying Bobby Bonilla for 20 years like the Mets.
No, they need to have an out clause in these deals. It needs to be structured to where it's basically a one-year deal, but it can't be just that. It's going to have to be a multiple-year deal to make the math work. Otherwise, they're going to get back into cap jail. The good thing about where they're at now is they've finally gotten rid of all those cap issues that haunted the team for years. I think they're projected to be around 30-something million under the cap. And the best thing they've got going for them now is these last two drafts have bolstered the roster with a bunch of cheap labor. Some of their best players are all on rookie contracts. So they can now afford, I mean, they don't really have any huge deals on the books other than Brees. I mean, Cam Jordan is making, around $14 million a year or something like that. I mean, total, no, that's the cap hit. He's making around $10 or $11 million a year. Taron Armstead is one that hasn't really worked out that well financially, but he's a good player. Almost all their best investments, we were talking earlier about the offensive line, 3 of their 5 highest paid players are offensive linemen right now, and Mark Ingram's the 6th. So it makes sense to be putting all your money into your offensive line and your running game.
And if you really wanted to play dollars and cents, you have to assume that we love Zach Strief, but he this could be the end of the line for him, and then you'd save some money there. And look, there's some other deals. If you wanted to unload Kobe Fleener, you'd take a little bit of hit, but you'd still save some money, so you'd be able to work with that later. And it's something that they have to know they've got to go on. But here's the thing. I thought maybe the same scenario leaving 2013 going into 2014, and they picked the wrong players. Like, they went all in on Jarris Bird, and it was a total disaster. I don't know if there's a player, say, outside of Drew Brees, and look, I think Kenny Vaccaro is going to be playing somewhere else next year, so you're not going to have to pay a safety. I figured that for a year now. But you look at it, and you got to be careful with free agency. Just because you're so close, don't make the same mistake again. It sets you back for years.
Agreed.
And that's the balancing game, and you got to look at free agency as far as which positions are plentiful, which ones you want to go after. I don't think, say, the defensive end free agent class is going to be all that plentiful for the Saints to go out and spend a bucket of money on. Last year looked better than this year's class, and last year's class, most of them, if not anyone you really wanted, got franchise tagged. The one guy who would probably cash out if he hit free agency would be DeMarcus Lawrence. He's going to be franchise tagged by the Cowboys. I don't think there's any question about that. So who's left after that? It's not like it's this big, giant, great class of stud defensive ends that's hitting the market. So you can't blow your money there.
Well, I tell you, I got a little trivia. Well, first of all, a little trivia for both of you two. Who is the second highest paid defensive player on the Saints roster? We know Cam Jordan's number one. Who do you think is second?
Second highest paid defensive
player.
Don't be looking at your computer screens.
I'm not. The only screen I have up is the YouTube stream. So
the reason I bring this up.
AJ Klein?
Correct. Who would think? I mean,
there you go.
That tells you how cheap right now they can afford their defense. They're not investing a lot of money in defense. Almost all their best players, or highest paid players, I should say, are on offense. Between the offensive line, Mark Ingram, Drew Brees, Kobe Fleener, they're paying the offense right now. Almost, it's a lopsided situation because all the young players are on defense. So they have a unique window right now to pay Drew Brees. They can afford to pay him right now. As you said, I don't think they're in the market to go out and sign some big ticket free agent unless it's a corner
or Tremaine Johnson. Remember, they tried to trade for him and he didn't want to come. Maybe he changed his mind. I don't know, but he's one of the top corners that are available, and we know the Saints were interested in him. So I don't know. Look, I've been on the Malcolm Butler train for a year now, but that was within a trade. And you get him for 1 year, and then you see what happens. Now, that would come with a long-term deal, but I'm curious to see what the market is for him now, how much this New England thing hurt him. I wouldn't want to make that call. I could sit here and say, oh, go get him, but if I'm the guy making the call, I've got to do my homework.
Well, I guarantee you Sean Payton is pushing the envelope. They know they've got a window here. Say you got Drew for 3 more years. Let's just be realistic. 3 years probably is about right. There's a window, a 3-year window with this young defense and these young playmakers on offense for the Saints to make a run. The offensive line is in its prime. There's a window. He's going to want to strike now if he can get somebody on board.
Oh, he's definitely going to be going and kicking the door down, man. I want this guy.
And that's where Loomis.
These are the points where we can actually go in and get who we need to help. And I was going to say, Jeff, to your point real quickly, was when you talk about having the amount of money that they have to be able to lock up Drew Brees to some kind of deal, isn't that also the same thing that we're talking about in terms of trying to make the squad better? Because either you don't want to have an imbalance, you don't want to have an offense that's so good but a defense that can't stop anybody. That's when you go for get a bunch of defensive young guys like Marcus Williams, like Marshawn Lattimore. Now your defense is set, but then you kind of want to have that pendulum swing back to where you have at least the most complete team that you can have to actually contend late in the season, do at least somewhat similar to what the Vikings and what the Eagles were able to do, at least in the NFC, towards winning the Super Bowl.
But what I'm saying is there's this window here where you can pay Brees elite money for the next 3 or 4 years, whatever that deal is, get your quarterback of the future on the roster at a rookie deal. So when Drew Brees' window here expires, your guy, your replacement, is ready to go, and then you start paying him elite money like Jimmy Garoppolo got this year. They have a window now where they've got to draft Drew Brees' replacement because they need to pay him the bottom floor rookie salary money while they're developing him to be the replacement. That's what the Patriots were trying to do with Garoppolo, but Brady has hung on, so they had to move Garoppolo. He's still playing elite level, but that was the plan by drafting Jimmy Garoppolo a few years ago. They had to trade him to get something for him, but he was going to be the heir apparent. The Saints ideally would get a Patrick Mahomes in this draft or somebody like that. They don't have to necessarily have a first rounder, but whoever that is sits behind Brees while you're paying Brees $20-something million a year, and then 4 years from now when they move on from Brees, you've got your ready-made starter.
4 years from now, man, you're saying Drew's going 4 more years?
3 or 4, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying.
As long as that year is
the
same
number.
year.
I just threw a number.
As long as that year is the same year that Tom Brady retires. Because I think, and this is probably a comment or a topic for either the next break or some point down the line, a lot of people have been saying as long as Drew Brees doesn't retire the same year as Tom Brady, he won't have to deal with the fact that all he'll hear is how his stats and Tom Brady's stats and how they're different, or i.e. how many Super Bowls Tom Brady has won comparatively to Drew Brees.
Or if Brees and Brady are in the same Hall of Fame class, Brees is the total undercard. You barely hear about the guy. He is. Compared to Tom Brady.
Tom Brady and 6 other dudes.
I didn't think about that. If they go in together, that'd be a hell of a class.
Exactly. So let's take a break right here on the show. Don't forget, in about 15 minutes, we'll talk with our own Will Guillory, talk Pelicans. Then around 11:30, we'll go up to Baton Rouge, WAFB TV's Jacques Doucet, talk LSU basketball and LSU baseball starting up this weekend, beginning of college baseball season. So come on back, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app with Dunc and Holder. Yeah, Brees is going to want to outlast him, so he gets the class to himself.
Exactly. So he gets the class to himself. Yeah. Someone said that. I was like, man, that's a great point. Like, no, you got to play as long, or if not longer than when he decides to hang it up. You do not want to be in that class with him. Everybody else is like, hey, we're going to Hall of Fame. Sweet, awesome. We don't care. Just give us our jacket and rings.
Mornings 6 to 10 on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Mr. Red Seafood and Italian Restaurant, serving the best fried chicken.
Like, oh, this breaks it short.
Here he goes.
Delicious Italian dishes.
Here's Eric's restaurant voice.
Overstuffed pulled pork Monday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 9
Second
p.m.
highest graded free agent to be. According to
Garlic smear.
Focus is Patrick Robinson.
What? P-Rob. What?
That's great.
See, all he had to do was go somewhere else, and now look at him. He's a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, but the grade, you got to look at it. It's relative because some guys
in a world of salt and ketchup, Taco Bell shakes up the game, only to expose a web of fries.
Fries seasoned in Mexican spices, dipped in warm nacho cheese.
They don't want these coming out.
Who's got one leg?
The burger people.
You might want a peg-legged
starring nacho fries.
Russian.
Critics crave it. It'll change the way you look at fries, exclaims the Hollywood Reporter. $1 nacho fries, now serving at a Taco Bell near you.
At participating locations for a limited time, prices may vary, tax extra. I'm Tony Goldwyn. 20 years ago, when my mom had lung cancer, she didn't have many choices. But today, you do. If you've been diagnosed with lung cancer, please visit standuptocancer.org/lungcancer to learn more.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
All right, so I wanted to jump into a little mock draft action, and we touched on it in the first segment, but I want to dive more into it. And really the only 2 names this early mock draft season for the Saints have been tight end Dallas Goedert, and it's Goddard. I looked up the pronunciation for once for something, from South Dakota State, and linebacker / defensive end Harold Landry from Boston College. Those have been really the 2 names I've seen connected to the Saints. And both are positions of need. But like I was saying, tight end, we figure that they're going to make a move somewhere along the line with tight end, whether it's both unload Fleener and draft one, or keep Fleener around and maybe the Who Man gets the boot. I don't know.
I think they do the Jimmy Graham route. They draft a guy. Remember, they drafted Graham. They still had Shockey. They played with those 2 guys for a year, and then Fleener moves on after a year.
I think they even still had David Thomas.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to draft one, the heir apparent to Fleener, and pay him this year and then move on.
but it doesn't have to necessarily be a first-round pick. That's my point, and that's kind of the flaw when you go look at all these people. They don't know every single team, and that's why they see a need. All right, he might be a borderline first-round pick, so let's attach his name to the Saints and kind of move on. And look, as far as the description of him, one of the draft pundits described him, how they compare to other NFL players. They compared him to Zach Ertz, which obviously is not a bad comparison. But the draft projection is whether it would be between rounds 2 and 3. That was the draft projection. So are the Saints really in the business of, wow, let me go run and draft a tight end even though we might not have a first-round grade on him? No. We've seen it. They would have gone – if that would have been the case, they would have just drafted an edge guy at 32 instead of Ryan Ramczyk. So
there's not really any first-round grade on any tight end that I see. I'm looking at NFL Draft Scout. They've got Andrews from Oklahoma with a first, second-round grade. Your boy Goddard is second-rounder. Hurst from South Carolina is a second, third-round grade. There's a lot of good mid-round tight ends in this draft, and that's where I think the Saints go. I don't think they need to invest. They've never invested in a tight end at that level.
No. Well, they don't have a second-round pick.
Right.
So
third, fourth round.
It'd be third, fourth round. Maybe that's where they look. But I just think that, like you said earlier, Jeff, they could go in any direction. And, look, we're so early on. But
way early.
We're way, way early. But it's going to become conversation because in the next, say, combine interviews and all probably start, in 10 days, I'd say. I know
Correct.
The on-field work gets going in a couple weeks, but in 10 days. And as we get closer to that, we'll kind of sort of break down some of the guys who are going and some of the guys we're going to be on the lookout for. But, yeah, it's something that I know there's the need for tight end, and yet I just cannot see them reaching for a tight end. And especially, I feel like there hasn't been a lot of major success stories, say, with first-round tight ends. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't feel like – think of some of the NFL greats. Was Tony Gonzalez a first-round pick? No. Antonio Gates was just some project. Who else? Was Jason Witten? He was not a first-round pick. So Jimmy Graham
was Travis Kelce.
Jimmy Graham certainly wasn't a first-round pick.
What was Gronk?
Gronk was a second-round pick.
Yeah.
So you don't feel it. Eric Ebron I think of as a first-round tight end, and he has been whatever. Coby Fleener was a high second-round pick. He might have been in that draft. I think he might have been the first second-round pick because the Colts had the number 1 overall pick with Andrew Luck, and they came back around and took Fleener right after that. So you don't have these high hit rates for tight ends in the first round. You just don't.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all relative. I mean, if you get some unbelievable prospect that just blows your doors off. I mean, O.J. Howard was a first-rounder last year. He had a solid rookie year, but Cameron Brate was the go-to guy last year at tight end, but Howard's young. Tight end's a hard position to learn. I don't think people understand. That's one of the harder positions to learn in the league for a rookie because you have to learn blocking schemes and pass routes. And there's a lot on your plate, and that's why you don't see a lot of young guys come in and dominate.
Yeah, I think were there 3 tight ends that got picked in last year's first round? And O.J. Howard, he was okay. I think Evan Ingram up in New York, he was okay. I feel like he had too many drops. I'm blanking on the third guy who was a tight end. But, yeah, last year was like a banner year for tight ends.
I just think, and I don't want to generalize too much here, but people just get starry-eyed over skill position players in the draft. Every year people have visions of wide receivers and tight ends and quarterbacks dancing in their head, and it's not sexy to foresee a guard or a tackle or an interior lineman.
Or possibly maybe someone on defense like a safety.
I think the biggest need they have is their left defensive end. I think it's the most glaring need on the roster by far. I think by far it's the most glaring need. But I don't think it's such a glaring need that they have to use their first-round pick on it.
I'm with you. Hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 is on the way. We'll switch gears, talk Pelicans with our own Will Guillory. Top of the 11 o'clock hour. Then we will head up to Baton Rouge, talk LSU with Jacques Doucet of WAFB TV. So come on back here. Hour number 2 is coming. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder. It's David Njoku, who actually started playing pretty well by the end.
There's another guy in Cleveland. I guess they're
Yeah. Ingram was the second. OG Howard was first. You thinking of tight end?
Yeah. Shaheen, they're high on third.
iHeartRadio celebrates the contributions of African-American artists to every style of music, from funk to jazz, blues to hip-hop, and so much more. Hear music from the artists that inspired generations of musicians and continue to influence pop culture today. Aretha, Jay-Z, Michael, Marvin, Tupac, Diana Ross, and so many more.
No, we don't.
Listen to their special playlists or an iHeartRadio original station like Urban Pop Classics and Motown Sounds, providing the soundtrack to Black History Month all February.
In a world of salt and ketchup, Taco Bell shakes up the game, only to expose a web of fries.
Fries seasoned
We got a break
Mexican
in the
spices
break in
dipped
the
in
show
warm
right
nacho
now.
cheese, huh?
They don't want these coming out.
Who's they?
The burger people. They!
Starring nacho fries in a performance that has critics craving. It'll change the way you look at fries, exclaims the Hollywood Reporter. $1 nacho fries, now serving at a Taco Bell near you.
At participating locations for a limited time. Prices may vary. Tax extra.
WODT WNOE FM HD2 New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app. Search Sports 1280.
Fox Sports trending now.
Start off right in the NBA. Rockets hitting some trays.
Harden three-point line right. Going to try one more three. And it goes! It rattled in! James with 32!
Rockets Radio Network. Houston hit 22 threes in a victory at Minnesota, 126-108. Rockets have now won 9 straight. Raptors beat the Heat 115-112. They've won 6 in a row. They're the top mark in the Eastern Conference, an impressive 40-16 record. Meanwhile, Cavaliers got it done at OKC 120-112. LeBron James had 37 points in 40 minutes. Sacramento Kings win in Dallas. San Antonio falls in Denver. Dropping down to the college ranks, number 1 Virginia wins at Miami. Number 2 Michigan State wins by 30 at Minnesota. I'm David Gascon.
It's a Big East Hoops doubleheader tomorrow.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining, bad odors, and lead with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to goodclearwater.com. That's goodclearwater.com.
Get to JCPenney's President's Day sale and save up to 40% off select major appliance hot deals from brands like GE, Samsung, LG, and Frigidaire. Plus, get up to 30-month special financing on appliance purchases made through February 28th, plus free delivery and basic installation. Hurry in, these deals end soon. JCPenney. GE, Profile, GE, Cafe, and Higher, limited to 10% off savings. Available in select stores. Some terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Financing terms valid 2/8/2/28. Must request a time of purchase subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. Free delivery and basic installation on appliance purchases over $299 and not available in all areas. See store associate or JCP.com/appliances for details.
Chili's wants to know, when was the last time you had a great lunch?
When was the last time you had a great lunch?
Oh, and we're singing too.
We go way back, baby, back with our singing.
Yeah, we do, but lunch is our thing too.
We've got 10 lunches for just $7.
Burgers, quesadillas, just $7 for lunch.
Just $7 for 10 awesome lunches.
It's even better when you say it that way.
It's pretty much the same thing, but I flipped it. Chili's is back, baby, back, baby, back.
With lunch for $7.
Take Chili's lunch to go, baby, go, baby, go.
Available at participating restaurants only. Prices may vary in Hawaii,
What was
not
that
available
other
in Alaska
place?
and Canada.
Didn't you and I go to
Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Hey,
Didn't
what
we
are you
go
doing
to,
up here on the roof?
I want to tell the world that it's met the woman of my dreams. What about you?
I want to tell the world that Liberty Mutual saved me $782.
Right.
Liberty did what?
I mean, that's just
They
another. I'm just
saved
thinking
me
of places out loud.
$782.
Oh, you go first then. $782 really puts finding love into perspective.
Visit us online to get a quote, and you could save $782. Liberty Mutual Insurance. Based on a recent countrywide new customer survey, coverage is underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company, Equal Health Insurance.
Febreze Car presents When Stinks Interrupt.
Thanks for the ride, sis. No problem. Good flight. Yeah, it's... Chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Chicken nuggets. Did you stop chicken for fast food?
Not today.
Why? Chicken nuggets. Pro tip, sis. Pick up Febreze Car, then pick up your brother.
Febreze Car has 2 new ways to drive away embarrassing odors. Now available without heavy perfumes or with extra bold scent.
Yeah, I can walk straight down. Yeah, 12:15. I'll be there.
American households keep adding debt. The Federal Reserve reports an increase of $193 billion in the fourth quarter of last year for a new record grand total of just over $13 trillion in household debt. Mortgages represented 2/3 of that total. Delinquencies are down slightly. Student loans are the most delinquent, but the number of auto loan payments, at least 90 days late, increased, while late credit card payments were mostly unchanged. The White House's budget plan for 2019 makes no effort to balance the federal budget and increases the federal debt instead. But Budget Director Mick Mulvaney is laying it on the Congress, saying he warned them about it last year.
And I said at that time that if Congress did not take steps last year, and the administration did not take steps last year
we
to
got
change the trajectory of our spending.
Calling now. Got 1 minute.
Cool. The budget within 10 years this year, and that has been the case.
President Trump thinks his threat of imposing what he calls reciprocal taxes on trading partners might actually lead to fewer taxes on all sides.
We should have a reciprocal tax. That's called fair trade. It's called free trade, because ultimately what's going to happen, either we'll collect the same that they're collecting,
stands the whole time.
Probably what happens is they'll end up not charging a tax. We won't have
Okay, well, I think
he told reporters
that
we
got it, bro. We
understand. Which is renegotiating deals he says are more fair for Americans. Valentine's
you gotta go to the bathroom? Yeah, I'll go with you.
Moneymaker, even though only 55%
stall. Prom pick.
Celebrated this year.
The National Retail Federation says total Valentine's Day spending this year will be a bit more than $19.5 billion.
Arden Keys stock
with the
is
average
dropping.
American spending over $143.
Why now?
That's $7 more than last year.
I guess people are doing their homework, investigating what happened to him at LSU.
And Americans
it'll jump once he leaves the combine.
Kevin Tolliver is a second or third round grade. I would not draft that guy with
Pepsi's parent company is reporting higher than expected.
I'm telling you, bro, he's got talent. He's got talent.
I know he does, but so did Rashard Robinson, and look, he already washed out.
Slower sales of Mountain Dew and Gatorade. Consumer and business news.
Dante Jackson, third or fourth round grade.
That's surprising.
What's up, Will?
Got drum skills.
Dunc and Holder, hour number 2. On a Wednesday, Valentine's Day, February 14th, the Pelicans are in love with Emeka Okafor. Breaking news, they signed into a second 10-day contract. He will be the difference maker. I know it, right? Totally.
That is a great story, though. The guy was out of the league for how many years? 2, 3?
Yeah, like 2-3 years out of the league, yeah.
And then I saw him get in the other day and block somebody's shot and made a nice little follow-up. And he's a great guy. Former Pelicans #1 first-round pick.
No, it wasn't the Pelicans. No.
I mean,
he was
Hornets.
a former #1 overall pick in the NBA.
Wasn't it the Hornets then, or am I thinking of somebody else?
I think he did not start with the Hornets, but
he
former
played,
#1 overall.
He's had a couple stints with the Hornets.
National championship with UConn, and joining us right here on the show, Will Guillory on a Wobble Wobble Wednesday. Even though they have changed the theme, pulled it right out from under me. And it's been love songs all day because it's Valentine's Day. So should I fall back in love with the Pelicans? That's my first question.
Oh, I think it maybe need to hold off a little bit. Let's see how they look tonight. But, it's Valentine's Day, so there's nothing wrong with falling in love. Right?
I gotta slow play this. I can't call her 15 times in a day. That would be bad. Breaching my love for the Pelicans.
You got to make yourself hard to get. You don't want to be too easy because then they'll stomp all over your heart at the end.
Well, I've easily been that already for the Pelicans this year. But look, they've at least won 2 in a row. They tried to blow it in Brooklyn while we were all away. They won 138-128. Then, nice win up in Detroit, 118-103. And they have their final game before the All-Star break tonight against the Lakers, 7 o'clock tip. At the Smoothie King Center. And as we anticipated, that playoff bunch is more bunch than we've seen all season long. Just in the last 2 games, what have you seen from the Pelicans? Well, maybe more in the Detroit game. What have you seen from the Pelicans where they've been able to kind of get their act together and try to figure this thing out with Mirotic and Anthony Davis in the lineup?
Right, I think the biggest thing for them, and we talked about this a ton ever since the DeMarcus Cousins injury happened, this team had to figure out how to play a new brand of basketball, basically become a completely different team because so much of the offense it ran through DeMarcus at the top of the key, and he was such a big part of the team emotionally, on the court, off the court, and they just had to figure out how to play a different style of basketball without him. I think you see that coming together now, especially with the addition of Nico Mirotic. He's starting to fit in really well with AD. Drew Holiday is playing really well. Rondo is playing some of his best basketball of the season. So I think overall you see this team kind of recalibrating, figuring out how they need to play without DeMarcus, and they're finally starting to find some success. And also a part of that is, AD's playing MVP basketball right now. He's been unbelievable the past couple games. And if he can maintain that level, I think they have a great chance of holding on to maybe that final playoff spot.
Yeah, Will, I think you hit the nail on the head as far as Mirotic is concerned, because this is a guy that came in and in a big trade. They obviously needed him to produce right away and take some of the pressure off of AD inside. AD is thriving at his spot, but Mirotic now takes some of the pressure off, and he seems to be gaining confidence in this system by the day. I think there was a couple of little initial bobbles early on, which is to be understood. But the more he gets more comfortable, I think, with his role, the more we're going to see AD continue to blossom, and I think this whole starting lineup take off.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think the most important thing for him, which is, I didn't realize this until I saw him the past few games, is the guy's very physical on the defensive end. I thought he did a great job defending Blake Griffin on Monday night. He got put out on the perimeter, switched out on some of those guards in that Nets game. He did a really great job of moving his feet. And I think having somebody that's a little more versatile, a little switchable, where now you can do a little bit more what they were doing last year before the DeMarcus trade, where you're switching more stuff on the perimeter. You're avoiding kind of having those rotations, a guy flying all around the court. Now he's able to kind of guard guys and keep them in front of him and allow AD to stay in front of the rim. And I think that's huge. And just having another physical presence. We're going against a guy like Blake Griffin. He's one of the more physical post players in the league, and Mirotic did a really good job of staying in front of him, making him take tough shots. And if you can have that presence down there with AD, you don't necessarily need him to guard so many of these post players. And obviously, like you mentioned before, Okafor did a great job defending Drummond in that game. But you're going to need other guys to kind of take that burden off of AD, just because he has so much on his shoulders on the offensive end. And I think if he can continue, the offense will come and go. I think, the shots will be there. Sometimes he takes tough shots, so sometimes they'll go in, sometimes they won't. But if he can continue playing the way he has on the defensive end, I think that can be really important for this team.
Will Guillory covers the Pelicans for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. I think the most significant stat of the last game, only 11 turnovers. Jeff thinks Boogie would have committed those all by himself if he was still on the court.
He might have.
He might have. But look, Drew Holiday is always going to be a big talking point with this team because of the contract. And they're going to need him to step up. And just look at the last game, 21 and 12, 8 of 16 from the floor. And how much has he? I feel like I wait like at least a month to say how much has he kind of found his place with this team. Has he found his place with this team in this lineup that they have right now?
Yeah, I think he's playing really well. I think pretty much you can point to when Rondo came back, he's pretty much been a different guy. He's been around 20 points a game, I think, since January 1. And it's not only that he's put up the numbers, but that he's getting it so efficiently. He's getting to the basket pretty much at will. And, when teams direct so much attention towards AD, that allows Drew to kind of take the ball straight to the rim a lot of the times, and he's doing that at will. And I think having a guy that's scoring 20 a game, shooting around 50%, getting you 7, 8 assists, I think that's huge for this team, because obviously you lose so much production with DeMarcus out of the lineup. And I think the most important thing for him is just to continue playing with confidence, continue finding ways to get his shot. And I think Gentry made a little bit of a mistake. I think shifting the starting lineup a few games back, taking Rondo out of the lineup, I think that kind of took Drew out of his rhythm, just because when you play Drew at point guard, he has so much responsibility. I think when you play him at off guard, it allows him to kind of float in and out, do a little bit of scoring, do a little bit of playmaking, do a little bit of defense. And I think when he's allowed to do that and kind of just show all the different facets of his game, I think he can kind of become one of the better guards in this league. And I think just having that piece next to AD is so important, just because, like you said before, he has so much on his shoulders, and just have somebody like Drew that can make plays and just put points on the board. It helps just giving him that second option on offense.
Well, the 2-game winning streak, both games came against Eastern Conference opponents. And I was doing a little math the other day. I mean, the Pelicans are 16-7 against the East. They're only 14-19 against the West. Now, the bad news in that is they only have 5 games left against Eastern Conference opponents, and 2 of those are against Cleveland and Boston, the 2 kingpins in the East. But why do you think that is? Is there anything to that? Is it matchups? Are there not enough big men in the East to handle AD back when Boogie was here? What do you think is behind that record?
I think that's part of it. I think before the Boogie injury happened, I think a lot of times you play against these Eastern Conference teams and they have kind of the stretch 4, kind of the smaller guys playing at the 4. Like, Boston has Marcus Morris playing there. Before the Blake Griffin trade, Detroit were playing smaller guys at the 4, and a lot of times you saw AD kind of dominate these Eastern Conference teams. And I think it's something about these Eastern Conference teams. AD, he likes dominates these. I think of the last 8 games, AD's around 36 points a game against Detroit. He had that 59-point game against them a few years back. He's known for killing a bunch of those teams out in the East. He had the huge game against the Knicks not too long ago, that Boston game as well. I think some of these teams, they just have a really tough time matching up against AD, especially if you only see him, twice a year. Some of these teams in the Western Conference, they can kind of figure out what you need to do to make things tough on him. But when you see a guy like AD maybe once, twice a year, it's a lot to deal with when you say, wow, this guy can do a whole lot. And you saw against Detroit, they just couldn't figure out what to do with him. He was getting to the rim. He was hitting shots from the perimeter, and he just plays with a ton of confidence when he knows he has somebody on him that can't really chase him around on the perimeter. And I think, like you said, the most important thing for this team going forward is they just have to play better against Western Conference teams, especially these playoff teams that they're fighting against, the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Trailblazers. They have to get wins against these teams because right now everybody in that bottom of the Western Conference, they're right around the same mark. And every win from here on out pretty much matters. It might be the difference between making it or being at home come April, or May, one of those.
Both. Hey, let's call both. Hey, Will Guillory, NOLA.com, Times Picayune covers the Pelicans for us. Yeah, you look at the standings, and Oklahoma City's kind of fallen back a little bit. Look, they're 32-26. Denver 31-26. Portland 31-26. The Pelicans are 30-26. Clippers 29-26, and the Utah Jazz, my goodness, won 10 in a row. They are 29-28. And Will, you look at the conference records among those teams, and the Pelicans, of all those 6 teams I mentioned, the Pelicans have the worst Western Conference record.
Yeah, I think it's very pivotal at this point playing against some of those teams. I think Utah, like you said, they're incredibly high right now. They're playing with such a high level of confidence. So many of those guys are contributing, even after making the Rodney Hood trade. And the Clippers are in that same boat. Even after making the Blake Griffin trade, they're still playing with a ton of confidence. And I think it's going to be really tough to hold on to that spot, and this Pelicans team has to stay healthy, obviously, the rest of the way. They have to keep playing with a high level of confidence. AD has to continue playing at an incredible level that he's been at the past few weeks. And it's going to be extremely tough. And I think whichever one of those teams doesn't make the playoffs, I think it's going to be a really big disappointment just because all of them are playing so well at this point. And I think one of them is going to have to fall off at some point. I don't know which one. I mean, Utah looks like they might jump up. Who knows? They might end up 6-7 the way they're going. But there's somebody's going to end up getting left out, and they're going to be really disappointed. And the Pelicans are going to have to find a way to get wins against the Western Conference teams in order to avoid that fate.
Well, this game against the Lakers is kind of a tricky game. I mean, the Lakers are only 9-18 on the road. They're a young team, obviously, a lot of young stars that are still trying to find their way in the league, but they've won 7 of the last 10 overall. So they are playing well as a whole, and this is one of those games. It's in the Smoothie King Center. We've seen it before where you figure on paper the Pels should win, but if they don't come out with the right, energy and effort, they could have their hands full tonight. How do you see this game and this matchup tonight?
Yeah, I think the Lakers are kind of similar to when you see that Brooklyn team the Pelicans played a few nights back, where when you look at the roster, they don't have a bunch of names that jump out at you, but every night they're able to go out and put 105, 110 on the board. They're able to run every night. They put up a bunch of threes, and they can have those moments where they look really bad on offense, and then they can have those moments where they get really hot. And I think the Pelicans at times have difficulty with those teams because they, like against the Nets a couple of nights ago, where they're kind of blowing them out and then they get relaxed, and all of a sudden the Nets knock down a bunch of threes, and it's a tie ball game in the fourth quarter. And I think a lot of times the Pelicans kind of deal with, they have a hard time kind of maintaining that energy, their activity throughout the course of an entire game. Part of that is, they put so much on their top guys, and it's hard to maintain that throughout the course of a game. So I think a big part of tonight is just continue to get contributions for that bench. I think Ian Clark, Darius Miller, some of those guys have been playing really well since DeMarcus has been injured, and they're going to need those guys tonight because they're expecting AD and Drew to kind of do everything again tonight. I think it'll be tough just because that Lakers team is so young, they're feisty. The Julius Randles, the Brandon Ingrams, those guys can give you difficulty some nights. So if they can get contributions from some of those role guys tonight, I think it'll be tough just for the Lakers to keep up with them. Obviously, it's the last game before the All-Star break. You know, a lot of guys are ready to just get that game over with and get on to their vacation. So if the Pelicans just kind of, put their foot on the gas pedal early on, kind of put this Lakers team, if they can get up double digits early on this team, I think it'll be a good way for them to kind of go into the All-Star break and just have a 3-game win streak and just feel good about yourself overall, even after the DeMarcus Cousins injury.
I'm just glad we didn't have to mention LeVar Ball. Will Guillory, NOLA.com, the Times picking it. Oh, and I just blew it. Oh, that's my bad. And now all of a sudden he's going to show up here and he's going to fight the King Cake Baby, or he's going to be the King Cake Baby. They're going to keep it one game longer just for him.
Is that thing still roaming around? It's not going to be there tonight, is it? We're
Mardi Gras over, bro. LeVar Ball might fight King Cake Baby, though. Might happen.
I wouldn't know who to root for in that.
Well, it doesn't matter because they both have large heads.
I mean, and there's Clyde.
Gosh.
Wow.
Clyde with the damn bombshell.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks,
appreciate
Will.
it, buddy.
I appreciate you guys, and I will not say his name either, so we can keep that streak going.
Good deal. All right, great stuff as always. Will Guillory. Follow him on Twitter at Will Guillory. Does a tremendous job covering the Pelicans. And I heard hope there. I heard it. Hope. That's what I heard.
You should have it. The Lakers are a newly retooled team anyway, so.
Mr. Glass half full.
Don't worry, I'll watch tonight and something will go awry. I'm sure.
And then you'll want to jump off like.
I watched the Nets and they didn't blow that, so there you go.
It's incredible.
You want to jump off like a Kardashian from one NBA player to the other.
Oh my!
Oh God, go to break, please.
Oh, Sports 1280 NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Clyde is on fire. We're Dunc and Holder.
Fire. We need a light. We need a light on Clyde. I can't see Clyde. Like, if you want to say something, I can't see this.
Sports 1280. Of course, you can also check me out on the television side, the award-winning Inside New Orleans Sports.
Well, I don't want to move lights.
No, do not move that.
TV sports show.
Well, spin a light, but then Clyde's going to spin that light.
Sports 1280 New Orleans.
You get a strong opinion each and every day.
Yeah, that's better. That's better, yeah.
Febreze Car presents When Stinks Interrupt.
Thanks for the ride, sis. No problem. Good flight? Yeah, it... Oh.
Chicken nuggets. Chicken nuggets.
Did you stop
Chicken
for fast food?
nuggets.
Not today. Why?
So Joe
Chicken
Christofek can come on Friday anytime. Is there a time I should
Febreze
get him?
Car has 2 new ways to drive away embarrassing odors.
We'll do like 11 o'clock hour or
without
not?
heavy perfumes
Get him out of the
or with
way.
extra bold scent.
Like,
Save more.
10:30.
Liberty Mutual
All right.
Insurance.
Hey, what are you doing up here on the roof?
I want to tell the world I just met the woman of my dreams. What about you?
I want to tell the world that Liberty Mutual saved me $782.
Liberty did what?
They saved me $782.
Oh, you go first then. $782 really puts finding love into perspective.
Visit us online to get a quote, and you could save $782. Liberty Mutual Insurance. Based on a recent countrywide new customer survey, coverage is underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company, Equal Housing Insurance.
Kylie Jenner officially back on Instagram after sharing a snapshot of herself.
No one cares.
Jenner made her return to the social.
Speak for yourself.
No one cares.
More than 100 million followers in the months prior to her return.
Look, if you think you are a celebrity and you're not good enough to put your celebrity pregnancy on Instagram, but then you automatically want to come back to Instagram and make money, no one cares.
After a photo of her baby generated over 16 million likes.
I have never seen anything like this. How much more are you hiding?
Black Panther is hitting the big screen, and analysts say it's on track to rake in as much as $170 million at the box office. Ticket seller Fandango reporting pre-sales for the Disney Marvel flick outpacing all other releases in the first quarter over the past 18 years. Tom Hanks and his wife Rita Wilson will be helping to bring Shakespeare to a Los Angeles stage. The couple set to star in June in a new production by the Shakespeare Center of Los Angeles. They'll headline the center's Henry IV. Jennifer Aniston is 49, and she celebrated her big day with her former Friends co-star, Courtney Cox, along with a group of girlfriends. Aniston's manager sharing a photo on Instagram of the girls who gathered at Cox's Malibu home. Several celebrity pals wishing Aniston happy birthday on social media, including Reese Witherspoon, who appeared on Friends as Rachel Green's sister. That's entertainment. Jennifer Bolsoni, NBC News Radio.
To buy your home, you became a house
10 seconds.
about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
College basketball. Couple local games of note going on this evening. Of course, we're the flagship for Tulane men's basketball. They're going to be taking on ECU at Uptown at Fogelman. What's the name of the place? Fogelman?
It is
Devlin
Fieldhouse.
At
Fogelman Arena.
I don't like those dual name places.
It confuses
Hey, man,
me.
when
It's
people-
always Fogelman.
I don't like that.
It's always going to be Fogelman.
Let's just say
Pick a name.
I heard a story earlier this year. It was in the early fall, that someone, I guess the person who donated the money to help renovate the entire place, was upset that they had only called it like Devlin Fieldhouse or Fogelman Arena, and Tulane had to send out a release saying, please call it Devlin Fieldhouse in Fogelman Arena. Because I guess when you got that kind of money, that's what you got to do.
Well, that's just like the Saints want you to call the Superdome the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. I call it the Dome in a column. I don't care.
Nobody's calling it come on.
Well, I think they're over that.
Everybody calls it
Since
Superdome.
that's probably going to be plucked away since there's one in Atlanta.
I think that naming rights deal is about to expire. I got to follow up on that. It's
on
got to
that.
be getting close to expiring. What's it going to be?
The Dunc and Holder Superdome?
I don't think we have that kind of jack.
I think we do.
I don't think we have that kind
Let's
of cheddar.
check with our
I think
financial
Jeff does.
advisor over there.
Oh, yeah, let's check with them. Hey, guys, do we have that money?
No one's answering because it doesn't exist.
I hear crickets. I hear NOLA.com crickets.
Oh, boy. Anyway, Tulane taking on ECU. 7 o'clock tip, 6:30 pregame, of course, with Todd Graffinini at the call. And Tulane 13-11, 4-8 in the AAC. They've lost 3 in a row. And with those 3 losses, look, even if you want to go to one of those pay-to-play tournaments, every loss is making it more difficult for them to stay viable in that. I know, Claude, you probably have better know-all as far as how those pay-to-play tournaments go. Do you at least have to have a winning record to be in a pay-to-play?
I mean, it's really a handful of kind of ideals that these tournaments that you go to, they obviously want a set number of tickets sold. They want fans who will at least travel. And then the coaches, obviously, they have their own ideals about, the type of venue that you're playing in, where they can stay, things like that. Because sometimes, obviously, if you're playing in some of the bigger ones, like if you're playing down in Atlantis, if you're playing in the Maui Invitational, those kind of tournaments, then it's basically, of course, the reasons why Duke, Kentucky, those teams are playing in it, because it's high marquee, high quality games that you'll be able to watch. But for some of those, as a coach, you're hoping that you can go down there and get some wins. You don't want to lose. You absolutely cannot lose. But the biggest thing for Tulane, I think, is that it's just they've hit that wall in conference in the American where they're starting to either run out of gas or they're starting to run into a lot of the better teams. Now, they lost to Houston on the road?
They got throttled by Houston. And
Houston's a quality team, man.
But that's a team earlier in the season they beat.
Yeah.
But that was here's the thing. I don't want to take away from the win, but that was when weather was crazy. It took an arm and a leg to get Houston even in town, and they lost by 9. And so that was ripe for Tulane to take. And that was when and Tulane needed that win. At that point, they lost 2 in a row. And then since then, they've only won. They have lost 5 of their last 6 since that Houston win. And the only win was at ECU when they had that insane play at the end of regulation, of the play call we played with Todd. Yeah, where he didn't believe what he just saw, and Tulane was able to win that game. But that's the last time. That's their last win since the Houston win. So yeah, they're teetering on the edge in Uptown.
Well, and they got Melvin Frazier back. He had that fluke injury, that sternum injury that he got. That hurt losing him for that game. I think it was the Temple game they didn't have him, but now that he's back, I mean, he's their best all-around player, and they're going to need him. But you're right. Everybody's lost a little steam. We were talking earlier. The Southland Conference is wide open. UNO, Nichols, who else? Sam Houston. Everybody's in the
Southeastern, yeah.
Yeah, everybody's battling for that lead in the Southland. But the SEC, it's wide open for the most part. I mean, Auburn's kind of got the first play. I think Auburn plays Kentucky. When is that? It's coming up here today or tomorrow.
I thought you would know as the card-carrying member of the Wildcat Nation.
I believe it's tonight.
BBN.
They play tonight. I did watch Kentucky lose at A&M the other night. They were down by almost 20 for most of the second half.
The league is so crazy.
I enjoyed every minute of that.
Texas
by the way.
Tech is about to win the Big 12 because they almost pretty much curb stomped and stopped Trae Young last night. So Texas Tech is about to win the Big 12 and run and stop Kansas' streak of 11 straight Big 12 titles, I believe. So it's a very interesting time, but this is money time in college basketball. You've got 2 weeks until conference tournaments start, and every team at this point that is either in position to be in the tournament or out of the tournament will make or break moving time the next 2 or 3 weeks. You're talking about the Southland specifically in that. A Southland team that is currently in the top 6, whoever wins the regular season, I would almost put money on the fact that they will not win the tournament.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's so competitive.
Because it's so diverse in how the teams play, and whoever's hot at the end. I mean, I'm talking about the Central. We haven't even talked about Central Arkansas, the team that came in.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, there is a reason for that. But that Central Arkansas team came and gave it to UNO when they came in about a month back. That's a good team. You never know, man. It's just different. And the thing for Tulane too is just I think if you talk to Tulane people, and I think Tyler said the same thing, they are so close. Like, they are on the edge. Like, they were showing signs and flashes of what they can be going into next year because, from what I can hear, having a guy like Mike Dunleavy, they feel like they have a real basketball guy in who understands the game and will make this team better going forward to where you're looking at being a year ahead. They might be 2-3 years ahead next year and really make that push.
I cannot believe that just happened.
Yeah.
That is from the last ECU game a couple of games ago. But, look, you're mentioning the Southland. Look, UNO traveling up to Hammond tonight. They're taking on Southeastern. That's a big game. UNO is 13-11, 10-3 in conference. Southeastern 16-10, 10-3 in conference. The way that conference schedule is set up, Nichols is 10-2, Sam Houston State 10-3, Southeastern and UNO are also 10-3. Stephen F. Austin, who overall are 20-5, they're 9-3. If they're like a 5th seed in the Southland, you better watch your back.
Which they haven't been a 5th seed, I think, in almost 9-10 years.
They beat LSU at LSU earlier this year.
Yeah. They're legit.
In a good game. That was legit. So that the game up tonight in Hammond, going to be a big one for the private teams.
University Center is the name. I don't think I've ever covered a game.
You never been to Hammond, America?
At Southeastern, basketball. I haven't covered a basketball game there. Have you all?
I have. I've been to the University Center many times.
I would like to cover a game there at some point. And that's my boy Marlon Veal for Southeastern, the Allen Iverson of the Southland. Unbelievable talent from New Orleans. And I would like to watch some of that game. I hope it's on TV. I'm not going to get up to Hammond tonight, but I'd like to watch some of that.
All right, well, let's take a break right here on the show, and let's turn our attention up to Baton Rouge. Let's talk with Jacques Doucet, WAFB TV. LSU went down to Alabama last night. It was close for a while and then really fell off the map. And, look, LSU kind of is who they are. The fact that they've gotten it back to respectability, I think that's a plus. And we're going to talk with Jacques. Baseball season starting up Friday night all over America. LSU hosting Notre Dame. And, of course, LSU coming off of a national championship runner-up finish last year.
And get some revenge for the Citrus Bowl.
I'm sure that's not what they're thinking.
No, absolutely not.
Just say I'm just throwing it out there. A little revenge on the Fighting Irish.
Pulmonary coach at Notre Dame. This is just friendly. Hey, come down to the South and play 3 games. We'll beat you at least 2 of those times, and you go back to South Bend.
Wow. They should sweep. You expect sweep every weekend for LSU.
Not for this team, I don't think.
Ooh, well, we'll talk with Jacques about that. Coming up next here, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Older.
Yeah, I think LSU's down.
They're picked to finish like fourth in the West.
Fourth in the West, yeah.
They're
going to score a lot of runs, but they had no pitching.
This report is brought to you
like
by
Zach
is now like they're
I mean,
they're in trouble.
Cats, happy Valentine's Day on this Ash Wednesday as well. Today we're expecting partly cloudy skies. Going to be a warmer day. The high in the mid to upper 70s. A slight chance of a stray shower.
Well, I mean, come on, you got to replace those guys, man. I believe the mighty Louisville Cardinals are not dropping off that far. They lost the Player of the Year.
High temperatures each day at about 80 to 81.
Actually, Louisville is dropping off. Looks like
in the 60s, both north and south.
First day of
from the Fox
workouts,
8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Bruce Katz with your weather authority forecast.
The message on
Did you
top
know
of
that
the
1 in
schedule
6
is just one
Americans
word.
struggles with hunger?
Dominate.
This problem is closer
Is it really?
but
Dominate.
so is the solution.
All right, we got Jock.
Cool.
America.org
my man,
today and
you
find your local
Darvish.
food bank for ways to help.
My new
Together,
friend.
we're feeding America.
Yeah,
Cubs
good luck with that.
With Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I'm not a big Darvish fan.
What are you doing up here on the roof?
Who's gonna be the one to draft Ohtani?
He's not in.
I wanted to tell the world
He's not in our league.
Oh, wow.
$782. Liberty did
He
what?
qualified
They
for
saved
both,
me $782.
I'll be
Sounds like
drafting
they're gonna pitch him.
Andrew McCutchen or Evan Longoria just to have a giant.
Visit us online to get a quote, and you could save $782.
Where's
Liberty
the
Mutual Insurance.
owners meeting? Are
Based
you
on
going to the
recent
NFL
countrywide
owners
customer
meeting?
survey
Yeah,
coverage is underwritten by Liberty Mutual
It's
Insurance.
Orlando. Oh,
Company, Equal Housing
God,
Insurance.
boring.
I've already been to Orlando 2 weeks ago.
Won the gold medal
That
in
is
men's
the worst.
snowboard half-pipe final. He failed a medal
Yeah,
at the
it's a,
2014
Ritz,
Olympics in Sochi. After
Would you be
taking
up for
gold
going to
in
the Super Bowl next year
2010.
and sitting in on the
Cavaliers
Hall of Fame
Tom
for me?
Russell
Actually wanted to
continues
ask
with a
you about that.
121
You want to
sit in
win
for you?
over the
Yeah,
Thunder in Oklahoma
you'd be
City.
my proxy.
LeBron James with 37
hell yeah.
points.
Well, hell yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
James
I
on
would
their
just go for
play
the
since
weekend.
last
but
week.
yeah.
That's what I mean.
Trade.
Yeah. All right.
Play
Hell
to
yeah.
Talk about it, but
our strength. And,
it'd
Jack,
be
you
easy
looking
to
to take
sit
a-
in there.
You're looking to take
I
a
wouldn't
Super
be
Bowl
making
on,
any
bro?
presentations right
No,
now.
you would make a president. You just have to vote.
Just do a vote.
14 points.
It'd be fun, probably experience for you.
Yeah, I'd really like to do it.
Looking to take a Super Bowl on, bro?
Assuming the Saints don't make the Super Bowl.
Yesterday's move
Right.
coming amid the Larry
That's right.
Nassar
Assuming.
scandal in the
Where is
Trump
it?
disappointment of
Atlanta?
former
Yeah.
Michigan Governor
Atlanta.
John Engler is
Be fairly easy one to cover.
In the NHL, Dion Phaneuf is heading to the U.S.
All right, I'm sorry. I can't do the love songs anymore. I'm done.
That's sports. Jay Corwin.
Oh, there's so much love
I
coming
love
from
you,
Dave.
Dave.
We used to call Dave Double D, by the way. I heard Eric calling that the other day. You like that, Dave?
Yeah, that's fine. I even go by D squared.
That's true.
Dave has brought Wobble Wobble Wednesday back to its rightful place. And I know someone was wobbling, what was it, last night? 2 nights ago, Clyde?
Oh, yeah.
Up at the Gin Blossoms with
yeah.
with Jacques Doucet and his...
Not so much wobbling as much as it is seeing a fantastic band for a great cause in Red Rock and Blue. It was awesome, awesome time, awesome night. Gin Blossom, I've seen them now 3 times live, and they are fantastic every time.
Is that Jacques Doucet's favorite band? Jacques, is that your favorite band?
No, it's not. I know his
I thought it was
favorite
Van
band.
Halen.
It is.
See, I know this.
Van Halen, without a doubt, is my favorite band. Clyde, welcome surprise. I didn't realize you'd be co-hosting.
Clyde's an everyday fixture now on Dunc and Holder. He's wormed his way in, and we gave him an actual seat and a microphone.
Wormed is a good verb.
Well, he deserves it. We appreciate Clyde being part of a sold-out crowd on the Sunday night to hear the Gin Blossoms and all their hits for military charities in Louisiana. So it was awesome. So.
Well, just since we're talking about that, just kind of give a plug. I mean, what's next? I know you've been doing this for plenty of years, and it's been a rousing success.
Well, Larry, I started a 501c3, a nonprofit organization called Red Rock and Blue, and we do events throughout the year. Our biggest events are typically in the summer with the big softball tournament and celebrity softball game. We do concerts here and there, and all the money we can raise goes to local military charity organizations like the Blue Star Moms of Louisiana, support our war heroes, wounded war heroes. We keep the money local, and we just like to have fun and do it for a great cause. And the Gin Blossoms were on tour celebrating the 25th anniversary of a New Miserable Experience, and they came in, played the album start to finish, and we had a great time. So check out our website, redrockandblue.com.
All right, good deal. Jacques Doucet, WAFB TV, up in Baton Rouge, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Kind of a two-pronged conversation I want to have with you. Might as well start with basketball since they're just coming off of a game. And it's amazing, last night, LSU fought back into it. Dwight Breath misses a dunk, and then the wheels completely fall off as LSU goes down to Alabama up in Tuscaloosa. Just your overall perspective of this team. I know expectations were not that high, and yet from me watching down here and watching them play, I at least feel like it's a plus in the positive direction that we're talking about them, that they're at least relevant, and there's hope going forward.
Yeah, Larry, before Will Wade was hired, the talk here was whoever gets this job is really going to have to eat it in the first year because it's going to be a terrible situation. Antonio Blakeney's leaving. The roster really was devoid of talent. And we said whoever comes in the first year is really going to get beat up. And Will Wade, to his credit, hustled like nobody could hustle to overhaul the roster, to get some good players in place, and to have them in conversation for an NIT at least, I think is a huge credit to Wade. They've got a top 2 or 3 recruiting class coming in next year with the things that they are missing, which is toughness in the paint, rebounding, block shots. I think that's coming in with the recruiting class next year. And so we've seen him, go 4-0 against Texas A&M and Arkansas, and win a game in Maui against Michigan. And then we've also seen LSU really see how far they have to go, getting humbled by Notre Dame in Hawaii, getting smashed by Auburn on the road, and then last night by Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Avery Johnson's in his 3rd year. Will Wade's in his 1st. So, I think things are moving in the right direction. Will Wade, and I say this in a complimentary way, he's kind of crazy. I mean, he is so just into this, every detail. He is so obsessed with making LSU a winner that even after the losses, fans feel somewhat good because they see how upset he gets and how focused he is on getting them better.
All right, Jack, switching gears and going to maybe a program that's not quite as optimistic right now. For whatever reason, there's a lot of anxiety in the LSU fan base with the football program under Coach O. What is your take on the signing day? How do you feel about that? Obviously, they missed on a few targets, Pat Surtain in particular. Do you put much stock in that, or do you feel like that class is good enough to carry this team forward in Ed Ogeron's 2nd season?
Well, Jeff, he said, and it was a difference in Coach O and Coach Les Miles are going to get up to press conferences on Monday in the game week and say what they're missing in recruiting. And right off the bat, I think it was around the Troy game or whatever, he said we don't have any offensive linemen or defensive linemen, and they addressed that. They got a lot of those guys in the trenches. Certainly they didn't finish in February like they wanted to in this new format where they had 4 spots open. Certainly not to get the backup plan when it came to corner. Hurts, I think a lot of people pointed to Coach Ogeron and they said, well, he's not an expert on the offensive side of the ball. He's not an expert on the defensive side of the ball. What does he bring to the table? Well, he's a recruiter, and he'll go out and he'll recruit and put together awesome classes. He's in Louisiana. He's a Louisiana guy. He can sell it. And I think there was, for LSU to finish outside of the top 10 in national recruiting, their lowest ranking, some people said 2012, some people said 2005, but whatever the case may be, it was not an outstanding class. And it's not so much what LSU is doing, it's who you're competing against. With Georgia up and running the way they are with Kirby Smart, Nick Saban doing what he's doing over there, Tom Herman in Texas had a top 4 or 5 class. So I think, just a lot of things happen to kind of create kind of a negative ball here with Notre Dame winning on that late touchdown pass. A lot of people not liking Steve Ensminger getting the job as the offensive coordinator and then not finishing. It'll be a very interesting year. The schedule is murder next year, and we've got big-time questions at quarterback, who's the running back, and can these wide receivers grow up and get on the field.
Jacques Doucet, WAFB TV, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. All right, let's switch gears to at least a team that you expect to be good every year, LSU baseball team. We all followed their journey last year. It was a great ride. Just fell just short in the National Championship Series. But you look at kind of the expectations, at least what the media is predicting, and LSU is kind of on the lower end of this thing. Just what are we to expect considering LSU taking on Notre Dame to open up the 2018 baseball season this weekend?
Well, they were picked 4th in the SEC West by the coaches. And Coach Maneri certainly that got his attention. I think Mississippi State was picked 5th in the West as well. And, I guess you take a look at what they lost off of last year's team and some big question marks. That's fine. I mean, these polls, you've got 5 or 6 college baseball polls. Sometimes LSU's ranked like 3rd in one and they're 15th in another. I mean, it's kind of crazy. You obviously have a playoff and you have a way of finding out who's best. You have a 56-game regular season. It's a marathon. I think they have questions about their pitching. Certainly, Zach Hess became a superstar last year in the postseason for his closer role. Now they're going to try to see if they can make him a starter. There's big question marks there. Can he give you 5, 6, 7 innings or not? Caleb Gilbert was really good last year. He'll be one of the pitchers. Todd Peterson is another kind of question mark in the weekend rotation. You got young players like Brant Broussard, who's a JUCO transfer from Delgado there, who's going to be plugged in at second base. Josh Smith now takes over at shortstop. There's a lot of different questions out there, but Coach Maneri, since his first year in 2007, really has kept LSU in national power, a top 5 national seed. Over the last, I think it's 7 years in a row, something like that. And he knows what the expectations are. Nobody gives him a mulligan over here. It'll be interesting to see Sean Ochinko now, the hitting coach. But and they're starting with some big name teams right off the bat. Notre Dame comes in this weekend. Texas comes in next weekend, and Coach Maneri knows that Blake Dean and UNO beat them twice last year in the midweek game. So it's time to play ball on Friday.
Jacques, how do you think the rest of the spring's going to go along that route? Obviously, it seems that LSU fans are now at least taking men's basketball as the rightful third sport, as kind of like the midway point between football and LSU baseball. How do you think the rest of the spring ends up with how LSU men's basketball finishes up going into baseball, and then how they finish up going into really, if they really want to play and do what they can do, really June, July?
Well, Clyde, you were here long enough. The joke used to be that LSU basketball you had between National Signing Day in the beginning of February and the first LSU baseball game, say mid-February, to get fans' attention. And if you didn't, they dialed out and they were done with it. And I think that's going to change. I think fans are still coming to the games a lot more than what they used to. And I think next year that place is going to be rocking. And really, people are unhappy. A lot of people are unhappy with football and the way that's going. And that is your big revenue producer. Basketball makes money, and then baseball makes a little money. But really, LSU in the springtime, they've got a lot of powerhouse sports going over here. LSU softball is going to be going for their 4th straight trip to a College World Series. Baseball, we've talked about. Good things come to those who wait and grind. Dee Dee Bro now in her 41st year has made LSU a national power in gymnastics. They're selling out the building, for heaven's sakes, for college gymnastics. Track and field has a long legacy here. So there's a lot of great things going on here at LSU in spring, and it looks like the weather's going to be good here, guys, for the next couple weeks. Highs like in the high 70s, lows in the high 50s, 60s. So, the daylight savings time's coming up March 11th, and it's kind of when we get our energy in the spring. There's a lot of cool things going on here in Baton Rouge coming up.
All right, Jacques Doucet, WAFB TV up in Baton Rouge. Hey, Jacques, appreciate the time. As always, my friend, good catching up with you.
Okay, guys, thanks for having me on your show.
You got it. Thanks, Jacques Doucet, WAFB TV. I should have called for an impersonation. I was waiting for it.
Well, we could have gotten a good Fletcher Mackel impersonation.
Or Paul Maneri.
Paul Maneri is
great Les.
John Brady, Les, you name it.
Yeah, his Paul Maneri is by far his best one. I mean, we've done it enough, me and him, at other random practice facilities that it's now just almost second nature.
In a former life.
In a former life, that's trying to talk about less and less every day that goes by.
But that's why I keep bringing it back, because I want to hear more and more.
There are other things there, and then when you do a good job of bringing it out of me, then yes, we'll talk about it off air.
Off air? No.
Maybe on air too. Sometimes it depends.
You can't cheat the listeners.
We let you go on rants. How about you go on like an SID rant?
You don't want that. You don't want that. No,
yeah, we do.
No, we don't.
Yes, I do.
No, we don't. I think it's time to go to a break for the last segment.
It's amazing. Clyde wants to go to a break. That's a first. Wobble Wobble Wednesday. One more segment here. Come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Holder.
Wobble Wobble back.
Hey, it's Chris.
Yeah, I couldn't do it anymore. Sorry.
I like it.
I love you more that you hated the love music.
Right here. Same great show, same great guest, just a move to the afternoons.
The Chris Cordy Show on Sports 1280. New Orleans.
Americans are always.
I'm just glad that you played the only really good song by Sophie B. Hawkins, which is "Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover," as opposed to.
Well, of course you like it. It's the lesbian anthem. I know you love it.
3% of Americans every week. Hey, who has time to sit and watch TV?
As opposed to "As I Lay Me Down," it's like, oh, that song is so boring, it's slow, it's terrible.
Oh, she sings that one too.
Yeah, she sings that one too.
AM/FM radio to work for your company.
I just know they were all played in 90210.
Yes, yeah, that's true. That's very true.
She didn't have many choices.
Where did Bernie Parmalee play?
If you've been diagnosed with lung cancer,
remember him?
I remember. I know the name.
Like, is he a U guy? Miami?
That might be right.
Facebook is hoping you'll share
the
more.
new Falcons running backs coach.
The old Google.
Box is getting the new feature that lets you make lists of anything like New Year's resolutions, to-dos, restaurants to try, and travel ideas. The lists are designed so that friends can copy each other's to share their own opinions about the subject at hand.
You know, guys aren't watching the Olympics. I'm watching the Olympics.
No, not really.
I'm not watching like
I'm seeing the highlights
pipe stuff, but I watched the downhill the other night. That was awesome.
I'm not watching the tomato paste.
Well, he already won. He won yesterday and cursed a lot on air.
Who are you talking about, Shaun White?
Yeah.
What about Chloe Kim? You're not into that?
I mean,
coolest thing ever.
I mostly get my news from like whatever the highlights of someone doing something.
She's like the new sensation.
She's also seven. Yeah, she's such a new sensation that Barstool is saying stupid stuff about her because she's a 17-year-old.
Don't read Barstool.
I don't read Barstool.
Don't even quote Barstool.
I'm not even. Look, I'm just telling you what is coming across, specifically Deadspin, because of course they're panning it. They're panning it because he's an idiot. Christian Faria also apparently is an idiot.
Well, yes.
Foster care will love you just the same.
For more information,
WEI's got problems. All
got problems, dude.
Like rip people.
And somehow he can be racist only in 5 days. Talk about Tom Brady's kid. Oh, 2 weeks.
Dunc and Older Now. Eric Asher next at noon on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Jeff just posed an interesting question, and that's why we're saving it for the last segment of the show. We did it on the air.
We're going to talk about Champs League? We're talking about Champions League coming back? Started yesterday?
That was not part of it. Are you paying attention to the Winter Olympics? I said, no, I'm not watching Tomato Paste Boy. I'm just not.
Tomato Paste Boy?
Shaun White.
Yeah, that guy.
He was incredible yesterday.
Paste. The flying can of Campbell's
tomato soup.
You better
get used to Shaun White because he's likely to be here in the future for the X Games because we're getting the X Games.
He's 31 though, right?
He can make it. And Chloe Kim, who's the Olympic sensation of the half pipe, she will definitely be here.
Is she named after both Kardashians?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes. Yes. Come on, Larry. We literally just spent the break talking about terrible websites and terrible radio shows, not ours, not included, clearly, because we are fantastically great, but talking and saying incendiary and terrible things on air.
How is that bad?
Is Chloe? I think, no, it's not bad. It just trends toward badness.
I don't know. I just don't know this person.
Chloe Kim, as I saw yesterday, to Jeff's point, Chloe Kim is actually of Korean descent. Her parents came over, have lived in California, so now she's getting to compete.
So you paid attention more than you tried to say you didn't pay any attention to Winter Olympics, and now you're just
I think you bring up a great question though. It's like I think in terms of when we talk about, I mean, for the Winter Olympics, obviously we live in South Louisiana. We're not going to go downhill skiing.
I have no connection
off of the Indian mounds.
And can't have just general interest in great athleticism.
I think you can, and I think it's the difference, especially this day and age, is I get most of my news from, I read tons of websites, including, we had a lot of stories up about figure skating the last couple of days, about the girl that hit the triple axel, things like that.
I saw that happen.
Yeah,
okay, great.
But
I get most of my news
from websites. I have RSS feeds and I read, and of course you have other sites who are taking it seriously, and that's how I feel like I get my news, to say at least up to date on it, but I'm not sitting around watching curling.
Did anyone get their leg clubbed?
No, no one's doing that anymore, dude.
You guys need to broaden your horizons here.
No, I don't.
I'm sorry. I watch Champions League.
I
watch soccer. I watch World Soccer. Thank you.
Olympics are incredible. I can't believe you guys don't get into it.
Here's what I would get into. See, I'm all in on that.
You are all in on violence and
the lowest
and
common denominator.
Terrible violence that they failed. They were so bad they couldn't even execute that task.
Just think of me Just think of me as average Joe, Louisiana.
That's what we think of you.
Louisiana, New Orleanian, I have no connection
Please
to
give us a
northern
hard
sports.
task.
I don't know how to ice skate. I don't ski.
You've never skied?
No, I don't ski.
I want to go skiing.
A lot of New Orleanians
water
are
skied. Water skiing.
I know a lot of New Orleanians that leave town
I know
from
they
Mardi
do
Gras
that.
to go skiing.
Go
I
Colorado
understand
skiing.
Right.
Yeah.
I also know a lot of them who go to Disney World, and is that in the Olympics? No, it's not.
I mean,
But you still like Disney World.
I actually think you can make an Olympic event or a bunch of Olympic events out of going to Disney.
There's nothing better than downhill skiing. I can't believe you guys don't enjoy watching that. Those guys are flying down the hill.
That's great.
And
I don't know who these people are. They're
you gotta
flying by
learn.
night.
You gotta learn. Part of the experience.
I like the Summer Olympics because guess what? I swim.
I'm guessing you've maybe
Played
run around a track
basketball,
once.
Played tennis.
You've maybe run around a
I've
track
run
once
around
in your
tracks. Like that, I'm okay
life. Have you
with.
thrown a javelin? Have you thrown a shot put?
No, I was
Hammer
130 in
throw.
high school.
Oh, I guess
Why
So
am I throwing
under
a
your-
shot
under
put?
this
Yeah, you'd be a
logic,
terrible,
This
like,
is me.
mid-miler.
I'm not saying for normal people. I'm just saying for me. I don't have any interest
mean,
in
you
the
can't-
in tomato paste boy who flies around the air in snow. I don't know.
But
I
you
just
have
don't
to
have
you
it.
have to participate in a sport to enjoy it. I mean, like, can't you just watch it to?
But I don't enjoy it. I don't have any interest in it. Here, if I lived in Utah my life, I probably would like it. But I don't. I live here. I grew up here. That's it. That's my list.
I just like watching athletic competition.
I'd rather watch swamp people in the Winter Olympics.
Swamp people. See,
Oh,
now
my
I can't
God.
see.
Jump the shark.
This is your
We've
fault,
jumped the
Jeff.
shark.
See, because you're trying to get him cultured, and we know that it can't happen. He just cannot be cultured.
Catch
Can't
a
do it.
gator.
Can't win with him.
You
Can't
can
do it.
ski and shoot. Why can't you get in a boat on frozen ice and shoot something?
Because what are you going to shoot? You're going to shoot ice?
Try to get a fish.
How are you going to try to shoot with like a 2-3 foot block of ice over the water?
I love how I'm making you two guys
It doesn't
so
make
flabbergasted.
Jeff,
I'm ready to move. I've given up. I tried.
This is your fault.
Again, what else is
I'm
left?
trying to-
Okay, the one sport I would pay attention to in the Winter Olympics, I'm not anymore. I would pay attention to hockey, but the U.S. they don't have any NHLers in it, right?
No, they don't. But
So
actually,
I'm done.
But at the same
Done.
time, though, the U.S. has some of the best young talent, along with Canada.
But I don't know any of
They
those
actually
people.
could contend.
I don't know any of those
Like
people.
a lot of young, good talent that are going to be future NHLers. Guys that are either playing collegiately or playing in the minors. They're on that cusp. So you should still watch, because that's the
Nah.
thing that we try to talk about with like do you know in the Olympics, like specifically for soccer? I know I talked about this, but in soccer, on the Olympic stage, you have to take U23 teams. So the bulk of your team has to be under the age of 23 or at that same stage of the calendar with a couple of guys who are the senior team. That's how you see all this young talent that are going to be playing at the big clubs eventually. Like, that's where you see a Kristen Pulisic. That's where you see, at one point you saw Josie Altidore and Clint Dempsey and all these guys that are going on to play.
None of them play hockey.
None of them play hockey. But that's the thing, though. You could watch Olympic hockey this year and see all the young talent, if you're an NHL fan, of the next generation of quality talent, and especially young American talent.
Well, I'm not an NHL guy, but I'll watch the Stanley Cup Finals.
There's men's
randomly.
hockey tonight in the Olympics.
Should I watch
And
it?
even better, there's luge tonight. Luge is awesome.
That turn 9 has been messing people up, man.
Turn 9?
Yeah,
What?
there's
Yes,
apparently a turn
luge
on
is
the
awesome.
luge track that is very challenging, and it's wrecked some people. It hasn't been good.
Yeah, it's like that's a very cool sport. If you can't get into luge, you're hopeless. Come on. You're flying down in a toboggan.
I get it, but I'm not
gonna
going to
lie
sit
to you.
there and
Speed
watch
skating.
it. I'm
Sit
not,
there, pop you a cold one, and enjoy it.
No.
Speed skating.
Pop me a cold one and watch a bunch of luge.
Yes, it's
No.
cool.
Why?
It's very cool.
I'd rather
That's a
watch
different kind of luge
speed.
for some people.
No, I'd rather watch the Andy Reid lookalike throw the stone down the ice.
Hey, man, curling is not as easy as it looks, and people will tell you
That guy's a badass.
That is an Andy
Yeah.
Reid lookalike.
Curling
on
is
that.
not easy.
Curling's
It's
fascinating.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
I would sit down and watch that.
I would
Curling.
I
That's it.
think
I would tell you this.
Larry would be a speed skating guy, because I mean, speed skating is very.
I watched
good.
I watched one speed skating race, one for about 2 minutes, maybe last night, and that was it.
I'm not a big speed skating guy.
But I'm just not no.
I would rather watch
I have
speed
no
skating though
connection
than
to
the
any
Pro
of this.
Bowl. The Pro Bowl I won't
fair.
watch with
I guess
your
fair.
eyes. You
Well,
have to
I
pay
watched
me
some.
to watch the Pro Bowl.
I watched some.
Pay me money.
I watched in a work capacity, making sure that no one gets hurt. Because Drew Brees got hurt one year.
That's
Pro
also
Bowl.
true.
It's
Yeah.
the worst.
Drew Brees got hurt one year. Do you remember
They
that?
need to do away with that thing.
They can't, because no other professional organization is going to get rid of theirs, and they can't be the only one that can't have it.
By the way, we got the NBA All-Star game coming up.
Yes, true.
Will you watch that? I won't watch that either.
I will.
No, I won't.
I'll watch the dunk contest. I'll watch that stuff.
I'd rather watch the skills and the three-point competition.
Yeah, the NBA All-Star game's become a farce.
I literally want to see if they're going to hit, if one team is going to hit 200 points. Like, that's my thing. Like, eventually,
they will. What's so exciting about that? There's no defense.
Because, I mean, you're not going to ever see, I mean, what?
Who cares? It's like a farce. It's not real.
That's the point.
Who cares?
You're seeing the best, but you're seeing the best basketball players who will at some point
they're
never
not
play
playing
each
basketball.
other.
They're playing like layup drill line. It's not basketball.
It's more interesting than the tomato paste boy.
And you're saying that as if like the And One mixtape when that was a hot thing, people would watch that.
I'd rather watch that than the NBA All-Star game
on the highest level.
No, it's not.
I'd rather watch Celebrity Big Brother with Meta World Peace, Ron Artest, and Omarosa than any Winter Olympics.
That's why we can't talk to you, Larry.
This Olympic update brought to you by Dunc and Holder.
And on that note, we're done.
The luge. Watch the luge tonight.
All right, we'll be back tomorrow and give you the luge update on Turn 9 here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder, see you tomorrow.
Febreze Car presents when
I'm glad we had the Olympic theme queued up. That's awesome.
Oh, we got Joey.
Good flight.
Yeah.
10:30.
All right, guys, go enjoy yourself some Olympics.
Anybody else?
All right, bud.
Friday, we care about anybody else?
Did you stop kicking for fast food?
Yeah, he's the guy.